Okay. Yeah, I used to be in active addiction. One of the hallmarks of active addiction is that you feel full of self-loathing, low self-esteem, self-hatred, and with addiction, there's usually something that makes you feel good, and whatever it is that makes you feel good, you'll do whatever it takes to get it. You'll manipulate, you'll lie, you'll deceive, whatever it is. There's different addictions out there. There's food, there's alcohol, there's drugs. My main one was food, but then I also went into career as an addiction, workaholism, and so what it is we know, like at the very, very low vibration, at the very low vibrations, one of the terms you could use is being selfish or self-centered, meaning, and when you have that, when you're disconnected from a certain level of spirituality, everybody is just, how can you use anybody to get what you want? That's the only thing that exists. And also there's a thing, of course, you also flip personalities after you've had your addictive. Like, if I would, in the early days, having a binge on food would give me some comfort. Oh. And so I wouldn't need to be selfish for a while. But then as the effects would wear off, then I'd need to use again, I'd need to get more food. Luckily, I was quite lucky in that my parents just kept the fridge open for me all the time. And but it did things, things like I used to work in my father's Indian restaurant, and we had a chef. It was my father was the boss, and the chef would make these onion. I was addicted to onion bhajis. I think that's so funny. So
hilarious.
So the chef would the chef, because I'd be there with my father, he'd be counting the money at the end of the day, and the chef would have to half prepare the onion bhajis for the next day, for all the customers coming in. So it's like I would wait for him to leave. As soon as he'd be out of the door, I'd run in, and I'd try and eat all of the onion bhajis that he'd prepared for the whole day for the next day. It was like extreme, the poor guy is like trying to earn a wage and trying to do a good job for my father. and I'm the son. I didn't care about him. I had no thought. I had no thought about anything about this man. But I was I was dishonest and I was deceiving, because I want those onion bhajis, and I had zero thought. I had zero thought about him, what he's doing, what he must feel about the situation. There was none of that.
What would he do the next day? Make up some
He'd have to make some more, yeah. So I must have given him, been a nightmare, because I was the son of the boss. So he couldn't really. It was hard for him to complain. I didn't tell my father what I was doing at the back either.
I see.
No. So I'd run in. I'd finish the onion bhajis, and then he'd have to come in, and then eventually, it sounds hilarious, but we had those big, huge catering fridges for the restaurants, like the massive. They can fill like trays of food, and then he started trying to hide the onion bhajis in the thing, because it'd just be there on visual display, and I just grabbed them. So he'd put them right at the back and hide like different foods on top of them. I'd have to go in and empty half the fridge out, hunting for the tray of onion bhajis so I could eat them. So I didn't really, even the thought of what I was doing to this guy wasn't even in my head, because I wasn't aware of other human beings. I was just aware of what I wanted and how I could use deception and dishonesty to get what I wanted, which I don't know if that's a narcissist, but it was definitely selfish. And I had no clue of other human beings. I was so in me and my self-loathing and what I need and what I needed to do to manipulate the world to get what I wanted, that was, in the beginning, like different foods were my drug of choice. So I'd do whatever it took to get my hands on those food. So if I came here, and I'd probably like raid the biscuit cupboard when no one was here. You see,
No biscuits in the morning, but just okay.
probably raid them. I wouldn't admit it was me. I had no idea who ate all the biscuits. So I'd be like that, you see, or I'd go in. My mother would make food. I'd go in at night and just finish off the food. Of course, she kind of knows who's finishing it all off. So that's the kind of behaviour I did. Also, it led in when I was in active addiction in the stock market, and it was asked for me to do dishonest work with reports. Because I thought then I was addicted to the power and the prestige, and the money and the glamour, and also the security of the job that I had. So it's like, well, okay. I was willing to be. I did have some spirituality, a little bit of spirituality, but it was not enough. I guess a pure narcissist wouldn't even have a little bit. So I did have a bit of guilt with what I was doing. So there was a tiny bit of conscience, but I would do that. So as you, in those levels, there's no awareness of other human beings. And the problem is, spirituality has got nothing to do with intelligence. You can be an extremely intelligent narcissist. And you can be a dumb spiritual person as well. So that's the thing. Like, people might think that if you're intelligent, it means then that you're spiritual. Where it has zero correlation. So like a very intelligent, low consciousness person is just very, very intelligent at manipulation, deceiving, and getting what they want. So that's what I was. So in that time, I remember, it was all about like manipulating others. I was very much into how to manipulate others. So, of course, it's like they're fields of energies. Like all the narcissists and all the self-addicts, they share like a collective field of energy. You start pulling thoughts from the collective on how to be a good narcissist or how to be a good selfish person. You see, you just pull them. Like when I was in the stock market, I learned things just by in the group energy. You just pick it up from the vibrate. You start doing things and saying things and behaving in ways that, you just sink into that energy field. So lots of selfish, very dishonest behavior. But the thing is with that is the more you indulge in it, the lower you go. And eventually, like with food or alcohol or whatever it is, there's a certain point where you keep doing the thing you do to try and get a payoff and it stops working. And then you're in constant hell, you see. So it's like you carry on eating the donuts, but after a while they don't give you the hit. Even if I could like go and steal people's biscuits or whatever and deny that I did it, it would be like at a certain point you keep doing that, but you don't feel good afterwards. Because in the beginning you can feel good, you've just had the biscuits. And but then later on you don't feel good, and then you're in agony. That's what they usually call a spiritual rock bottom. Or you try doing something that's not in a spiritual alignment. You don't know and get the payoff. You just get constant pain. So that's when I had the kidney failure and the spiritual experience. So then that's like a flipping point, where suddenly it's shown that you need to choose a spiritual option. And I think from what I understand, as soon as you choose spirituality, you become integrous, because you want to learn, you want to let go of everything, and a lot of grace comes in. So that those are the levels of selfishness, self-centered. So I know how they think. Also, there's as an addict, you could meet me one day, I could be very grumpy, and the next day I could be quite mellow, because if you've got your drug, just had your drug, you can be quite mellow, you see. But if you haven't had it for a while, you're grumpy, you see. So you manipulate. So often with addicts, they're Jekyll and Hyde. One day you meet them, they seem to be like angels. The next day you meet them, they're horrific. So I was a bit like that. So selfish. The key thing is like there's no awareness of what other human beings are, and they're just perceived as things to get what you want out of them. You know, unless you know. So I understand other narcissists. You know, that's why I'm in these programs, because I can talk to them. Yeah, I know what you mean. You know, just take what you want. Yeah. So they usually come in because they're in pain now. It's not working for them.
So the narcissist, so the traits, the personality traits of the narcissist,
Yes.
is it kind of extreme selfishness? Is that what
Yes,
you said?
yeah.
Extreme self.
Yeah, I don't know if I got to the extreme level, like, you know, I wouldn't like kill someone for a donut or something. But I think an extreme narcissist would. You know, I think an extreme narcissist would, because they'd be like, because it's like the light of consciousness. I think at a certain point it's so dark you become selfish. And then, you know, narcissism for me is just extreme selfishness, at the height of selfishness. So I think in my addiction I was becoming more and more selfish, because I was choosing addiction and I was going into these darker levels of consciousness, because the more your ego gets inflated, the more you start to go down in consciousness. So like often you'll find like food addicts or alcoholics, they start off just drinking a little bit and they're just a little bit unmanageable, but then 5 years later they're drinking even more and they're being even more horrible. And then 10 years later, you know, they're a nightmare. So, and they lose their conscious contact, you know, they can become violent, they can do all kinds of things. So that's the thing. And as you start to, so once you start to choose spirituality, here's the thing. As soon as you get that, you know, it's like you develop a thing which I never had, like a conscience, or a proper working conscience. And there's enough power to be aware of other people. You know, it was like, you know, for a large swathe of my life, I wasn't aware of other people. I mean, I was aware of that you were a thing that I could manipulate to get what I wanted, but I wasn't aware that you were a human being. You know, I wasn't aware that I mean, I was clever. So, you know, whatever I wanted, you know, if I wanted, like, wanting approval, you know, and putting on a show, or manipulating, or getting food, as the example I did. So that's all I saw. Other human beings were just that. There were nothing more. Parents were also just that, you know, just things to give me what I wanted. You know?
So a narcissist is somebody who is an addict too. It doesn't necessarily have to be food. It can be any kind of other addiction, right?
I think, yeah, I think.
So I'm not quite sure what's the unit.
I think that narcissism and addiction are two parallel things, and you can be a narcissist without being an addict, and you can be. But I think you're saying that addiction leads to selfishness.
Yes.
The reason I really know a lot about narcissism now is that my father, who's in his 80s, is a narcissist from birth, the way you're talking about, which is traumatised from birth.
Yeah.
And that is perhaps more extreme even than what you're describing, because the other is now like you knew what you were doing in your manipulation, but deep narcissism, when it's a personality disorder, like being raised by one, is actually extremely difficult, because you don't exist in your own right. You're an extension of the parent. The parent looks at you and thinks, what can I get out of you? So it's like the worst kind of parent you can have, because parenting is all about otherness.
Yes.
So, but I think, you know, you really touch on a lot of the themes of deep selfishness. But my father isn't, I wouldn't describe my father as an addict. I don't think he's addicted to anything except himself.
Yeah. You're okay for recording this? Are you okay?
Okay, let's see. Yeah, almost an addiction with himself, really, not necessarily an addiction with something.
At the very deepest level, if you look at attachment theory, which is how babies attach to their pet, right at the beginning, if the attachment hasn't happened in a healthy way, that's where all the problems start coming. And narcissism is where the parent leaves and abandons the child, and you know, there's a rupture in the attachment. It's a damaged attachment, and the narcissist learns as a baby, I make it on my own, I don't need anyone, and they develop a hard shell And that's the roots of it. It's really quite deep.
Yes,
I've really I've gone into it because I needed to understand why I had no self-worth, and it's because I've been raised by a parent who's a total narcissist, but concealed as a very nice man. So I didn't know there was anything wrong with him until I was about 40, and I've had to learn what a strange disease it is, and slightly separate from addiction.
Yeah. When you become, as the ego gets more and more inflated, by definition, you become more and more selfish and self-centered, and conscience and awareness of others as being human, or having feelings even, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So just others are just perceived as things to get what you want, and there's no awareness of feelings in other human beings, what they'll think. It's just like, it'd be like, if I was in my food addiction, it'd be like, I'd know where I'd be like, if the room was empty for a minute, I'd be like opening the fridge, any cakes in there, any looking biscuit tins, finish them. And I might even do something like, just look at other people like, I didn't eat the biscuits. Maybe it was that person.
Really?
So
that extreme?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
accusing somebody else?
Not necessarily accusing, but just looking at the others as if they're... Because you're very clever.
Yeah.
So it's like, it couldn't have been me, so it must have been one of the others who did it, you see. So that is but that's normal. Because you have no awareness, like I was with the chef. So as soon as you start spirituality, because usually you get pain, because why? Remember with what Ramana said was that if you really, really want something like biscuits, or if you want a job, or if you want whatever it is, you see, because you really, really want it, you have an inflated vibration. So you're really, really wanting it. And when you get the thing, then you get a high. And then for a while you're like happy. You don't need to like use on anyone. Because if I just had the biscuits, I'd be quite happy. You don't have to, I'm quite safe just after I've eaten my biscuits. But after that, because the vibration has stopped, you just had the biscuits and they're projected, then suddenly they start coming up again. You need more biscuits, you see. But then after a few years, they don't give you a high. You just want the biscuits, and then you eat the biscuits, and then you still feel bad. Because now that there's a permanent vibration and the ego is now entrapped you in addiction, and there's no relief from doing the thing. Or you go to more and more extreme behaviours and extreme addictions. So that's what happened with me, with the kidney failure. And then you choose spirituality, and as you start to choose spirituality, it's like you have to like grow from being a baby. It's like as soon as at the age of 30, I was like I was given a conscience at the age of 30. I had to like learn from that, but I was kind of like given a very high jump start because I'd met these spiritual teachers. So I was probably like jumped up quite quickly into suddenly like having a conscience and suddenly like being aware that other people are affected by what you say and how you do. It's quite and you start to have compassion and empathy. You don't have that. I didn't have that. So you have to start to have compassion and empathy of the ramification, and also you start developing spiritually. Also, you're like a baby in terms of communicating, with other human beings. So you learn things like learning like how to talk to people. How to work, how to deal with people who are selfish. Luckily, I go to places where that's quite common, you see. So we are able to, we know, like I know what I'm lucky now. I know what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with one of the ex-me's, you see. So it takes a recovered wolf to understand another wolf, you see.
If you've got it, if you got it, you spot it. If you got it.
Yeah.
In your case, if you had it.
Yeah. Like I can usually spot addicts quite easily. They're not at peace. They're very like agitated. They're often very charismatic. Addicts can often be extremely charismatic people, because I tried to be charismatic. I learned everything I could in the art of manipulation. I was in sales. That's a manipulative thing, sales. And then the most manipulative area of manipulation is NLP and hypnotherapy. So I went straight for that. So, and that's the thing, of course, if you're spiritually connected, you can't be bothered to do all of that because it's just too much effort. It's just like, well, if food is your thing, then you will learn every manipulation skill to get your hands on food. Or if it's like you want a girlfriend, you'll learn everything to manipulate to get a girlfriend. Or if it's a career, you'll manipulate and do everything you can. So they're very, very, you learn everything. But it's not about helping people, it's selfish, you see. So as soon as you get there, then you learn how to communicate with others. Luckily, because I come from a background of addiction, I know when I'm dealing with addicts. Generally, as your vibration increases, you let go of people that no longer resonate with you. Because as your vibration goes up, you can't really stand high levels of non-integrity. You just don't. At a certain point, you can tolerate them for a little bit, but at a certain point, as your vibration goes up and you forgive and love and have a conscience, then you want to seek people more at your own spiritual vibration. So if someone's going to be drinking and lying and gossiping for the whole 2 hours, you can't take it for too long, or they drop away. At a certain part, these are like the different chakras as you're going up. At a certain point, it's like assertiveness is a very interesting one. But a lot of people I see in the groups suddenly they're often they're very manipulative, but they're doormats. A lot of them are doormats. In many respects, I was a doormat, but I was a clever doormat. You see, But as you start to get to a certain spiritual level, you get your voice back. And it's like I help people spiritually. I kind of mentor them and coach them. And at a certain point, as they start to do the spiritual work, they go through this. I call it like getting their voice, or what I call their teenage phase. I call it their teenage phase, and then suddenly they've got a voice, and they have to like. It's like. And I would say to them, you're in your
teenage voice.
Yeah, because they were in that activity. They have had no emotional growth.
Yeah.
They've had no emotional growth, and now they're developing spiritually, and they're doing forgiveness, and they're connected with people who trample on them. And now they're getting enough power to start speaking. So I call them the teenagers, and they really tell everybody how it is. So this is the teenage phase, and they'll tell me how it is, what they like and what they don't like. So they've suddenly got, but it's part of the growth process, you see. Then you start to, but then there's a process of letting go and tuning into vibrations and having friends, careers and situations that are more in resonance. Usually, and you can stay in certain situations, but then you have to transcend those situations, especially things like work. If you're going to stay in a work situation and you choose to stay there, then and apart from changing work is transcending the work environment, which many people do. If you have a bad boss or whatever, you can forgive and transcend the boss. And so stay in that, and then you get to the higher levels of spiritual discernment, and also wisdom, spiritual discernment and wisdom in how to deal with the people in non-integrity. Like usually with people, okay, what do I do with people in I don't really like connecting with them, people in non-integrity generally, but if I have to connect with them, and you can sort of feel the energy, they're not in integrity. So you really have to know you're dealing with someone who's selfish and dishonest and conniving. And if you give them half an inch, they'll take it. So you want to be usually you have to be very strong, and usually like I'm talking about in a business context, you have to take every single precaution, contractually, and with clarity. Usually, if I was in my selfish addict mode, and I knew I was dealing with someone who understands me, and you can't get one up on, then I'll behave myself. It's like being with a policeman. I'm not going to steal some biscuits in front of a policeman, because they have that aura that they know who you are, you see. But if I see, if you see someone naive, then like I think this person's probably quite a naive person. They probably leave their biscuit tins in open sight, so it's going to be easy, you see. So it's a bit like that. So as you go up, and then you get to, sometimes it's necessary to be very assertive. I mean, assertive is a good thing. It's a positive energy. When you're angry, or you bark at people, it's more the teenager, which is still a good thing. It's progress. And then later on, things align with wisdom. So those are the different areas. But yeah, you have everything. When you're narcissist, selfish, you're just manipulative, basically, to get what you want. What your ego projects you want, anyway. The problem with, you can feel sorry for narcissists, because they will do whatever they take to get whatever they want. And at a certain point, it won't work for them. They become even more crazy, you see. So it's like if you want...
The payoff problem.
The payoff problem, yeah. Like if you've got fame, then you seek more fame and more power. And then that will work for a while, but then you have to get more fame and power. That will work. And then at a certain point, it stops working. Then you become a drug addict. And then you become suicidal, because you've got the fame and it's not giving you highs. And you've got the power, everyone in the world adores you. Then you have to do something, it's not enough. Then you have to choose, maybe drug, cocaine. That will do it for a little while, and that will stop working. Then you're suicidal, and you may die in some fashion. So that's the fate, unless they get a spiritual awakening and choose the spiritual path. So that's my take on narcissism. So of course, there's different levels. As you go up, you start to get things with being selfish. At a certain point, you start to get inklings of a conscience, but you're not able to act on it, because you're still selfish. So I get little nudges like, this is not right, but there's impossible to follow it. When you hit integrity, when you hit a certain point, it's like the conscience is actually actionable, if that makes sense. It's like you have a thought, well, there's the biscuits there, I know it's wrong, but then you can follow that. But at a certain point, you just get inklings, it's not right, but you still do it.
You simply suppress the inklings because you still need your fix.
Yes, you just suppress it, you just ignore it, and just run for the biscuits and be very clever about it. So that's, and then you go through, and usually in the programs I go, then you often have the phase, the teenage phase, and then there's but then there's the clearing phase of letting go of friends and people and situations which are not good. Often there can be changes of career as you start to go up in vibration. People will leave your life, new people come in, and then often there's greater, you get these greater insights on how to deal with people. Sometimes you can do it with wisdom. I mean, sometimes if you're dealing with a selfish person, you have to be like very strong and show you can't be taken advantage of, because that's the only language they would relate to. There's no use of just trying to be nice, but they react to, you have to speak to them in the language that they know.
And they don't respect that anyway.
No, they don't respect that.
They respect hard talk.
Yeah, they respect hard talk, because otherwise you're an easy target. So like if you're dealing with them, then you've got to like know who they are, and show that you can't be taken advantage of, and then they leave you alone because you're too difficult. Like you see all these strong characters in the world, like no narcissist is going to go for them because they're too strong. You're going to go for someone who's naive. Like I wouldn't try and steal from a policeman. That'd be too scary for me, because he'd probably know he could probably spot my energy and just feel the presence. So like, this is a policeman, I'm going to behave myself today. But if it's someone like naively spiritual, leaving their biscuits everywhere, I might go for it, and look innocent and look at everyone else. You see.
Oh my God!
But So yeah, that's the very thing, you know. But that's the great thing I knew as a selfish person. Wasn't aware of other people's feelings, thoughts, what I was doing to them. I just wanted what I wanted from them, you know. And as you get a conscience, this thing of like, well, it's just also just happens, you know. Of course, you become aware of things like karma, and as you sow, so shall you reap. Yeah. And therefore, you become reversed. You become a reverse, you know. It's like, how much good can I do? And, you know, to be sensitive to others and to love. And you realise that that's the better way. As a selfish person, I didn't actually know that model existed. So that was the only model. So eventually you can start to have compassion. Even, you know, if they steal your biscuits, you see, you can still have compassion for them. Because they're not able to do anything, they don't know anything different, and they're bound by it, and then they're not even able to understand that other people have feelings, you see. Like I wouldn't understand, like, you know, the owner of this house had feelings, you see, and you just have to do it.
So you were saying you didn't really kind of think how the chef might have felt
No,
at all?
I had zero.
You had zero?
I had zero awareness.
Really?
Yeah, zero awareness of how the chef. It's only when I started.
Especially because you knew that he was preparing them for the next day.
Yes,
so you had
no, I had no awareness.
Really?
Okay, I'll describe it. It's like being.
Yeah, this is my father.
Wow,
Yeah,
this is
I
incredible.
actually zero awareness when I was doing it. I knew. I had no consciousness of his feelings or anything.
But you knew that he was preparing them for the next day.
Yeah,
for
he has to.
customers that come the
Yeah,
next day.
he has to.
So
He has to do that.
Knew that.
It's an exploitative
Yes.
energy.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, it's an energy field. You have no awareness of what the effects on other people. You're actually run. I was run by the field. It's a collective field. All addicts are exactly the same at a certain level. You know, so I mean, you can't have awareness of it. I mean, it wouldn't be possible to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like in that field of energy, you're synced into that negative vibration, and that vibration does not allow. At a certain higher, you might start to get glimpses of a conscience. But I didn't have any at that point. So just like, how can I get those onion bhajis? And obviously, you know, there was some awareness that I couldn't like eat them while he was there, so I have to wait for him to leave. So there is some intelligence. There's some intelligence to the thing, you know. I'm not sure what he'd be saying if I tried to immediately munch them.
What a thing to be addicted. Onion bhajis.
Someone that was in that is very subtle. You know,
You're very clever.
Subtle,
You're very clever.
and people can miss it. Like innocent people coming into their field can miss the subtlety because they're so clever.
Yeah, you're very clever.
Yeah.
You know, and so I did that, and I had them. And then, you know, I was waiting the next day for the next lot, and then he was hiding them. I still had no consciousness that he was trying to hide them in the fridge. I was still like, you know, all it was like, I just have to find it and eat them. And then, but after I got into spirituality and had my rock bottom, and then you have to do a lot of like looking at your background and how you've been in your background. And I do a 12-step program, so you're supposed to like make amends to everything you've done wrong in your life. I haven't met him again, but I'm going to apologise. If God brings, I might see him after this video camera.
You didn't seek him out through your father?
No, I didn't seek him out through my father. I'm kind of waiting, but I'm hoping one day I see him. There was this thing. There's another. I can tell you another story.
How long was that going on? This poor guy.
I don't know. It's
I was just thinking, the poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy.
Would have been really in trouble.
Really frustrating.
Yeah,
there's also trouble with the boss. You know, your father.
Yeah, he couldn't say anything.
He couldn't.
Maybe your father wised up at some point.
I don't think. You know, I think my father wasn't really kind of keeping an eye on what I was doing. He didn't know what I was doing. I mean, he knew I was supposed to have a meal at the end of the day, but he didn't know I was like eating just the onion bhajis for the next day and giving the chef a hard time. So he probably thought I was just having a bit of rice and a little bit of curry, you know. But I didn't tell him. The thought didn't even come to tell him what I was doing, you know. But later on, you know, I did have. It's a good point, you know. I would like to say sorry to him the next time I see him. actually, there was another thing. Because I'm in the fellowship around food, addiction. So I have all these stories, that I kind of shared with the other people who have the same addiction as I have. That's one of my war stories, the Onin Baji story. So the other addicts would understand that. Like normal people wouldn't understand what I've just said. Or maybe you do. I don't know. And
I would have understood that you have the consciousness, but you still do it. But you kind of go ahead and do it. I could understand
no,
that.
that was later on.
But
at that
having
point,
no consciousness whatsoever, I don't
No.
quite understand that.
no. At that point, when I did the Onin Baji thing, I had no consciousness.
Yeah. It's a total empathy bypass that you can't understand.
No. There was at that point. Later on, I did have a tiny bit for some reason, but at that point, I didn't. So there was no. And I remember there was So there was actually there was this one lady that used to buy me biscuits, and I knew she liked me. She was like buying me these biscuits regularly, and I was an overeater. So obviously I'm not going to say no if you're buying me biscuits. But I did know intuitively. I did know, but I was selfish. I didn't know that she was doing it because that's the usual thing you do. I would do the same thing. I'd buy chocolates if I liked a girl or something. But I had no interest. But I was taking these things, and then one day she tried to kiss me.
Stories.
And it was like I was getting these biscuits on a regular basis. I was quite happy getting the biscuit. I was just accepting the biscuits regularly. And she tried, and I went back. She tried to kiss me. And I really offended and shocked her. I never saw her again. But the funny thing was,
more biscuits.
She wised up.
Yes.
No, the funny thing is I had to do this 12-step program where we're supposed to apologise for the things we don't. You make a list. This is quite common in the places we go. You make a list. If I see that person again, I have to say sorry or whatever. I was going to my spiritual group and I just bumped into her randomly in front of the tube station as I came out. I hadn't seen her for about a year or two. I just apologised to her for that.
Oh, wow.
And the opportunity came. It was I hadn't seen her and I just apologised for it.
Wow.
And I've never seen her since. But I made the apology. It's like I had my conscience later on. I thought, oh my God, how could you do that? How could I do that to that chef?
How did she react when you apologised after 2 years?
She didn't really. I mean, she. It was quite funny actually.
Or she was in the same groups anyway?
No. She was actually. It's quite funny because she was on her way to Kabbalah. And I was on my way, so she was on her spiritual thing now, and I was on my way to, a 12-step group for addiction. So, and I bumped into her, and she was off on her way to Kabbalah, but I just we randomly bumped into each other. I thought, yes, I'm supposed to apologise, God brought her in front of me. I apologised to her, and I think she'd gotten over it anyway, and she just said, oh, I'm going to Kabbalah. I said, okay. I said, really, really sorry, for having all your biscuits, and sorry about my behaviour. I forgot what I said, but it was scripted. I had a script ready in case I apologised for my selfish behaviour. And she accepted the apology, and then she made a bit of small talk. She's off to Kabbalah, and she was saying how great it was. And I've never seen her since, so it's like God brought the opportunity. I now had the conscience, and it was like the opportunity presented itself. So those types of things. So that's what you've got to understand when you meet someone who's selfish or a narcissist. And you just be strong with them. You have to know what you're dealing with. Yeah. Once you know what you're dealing with, then usually the thing is narcissists or selfish people will respect people who are strong and clever, because we won't try and take someone who's aware of what you are, if that makes sense.
And they don't value humane qualities in another person. They value smartness and strength.
Strength, yeah.
They don't value those nice skills.
No, nice stuff is something that there's no.
It's weak.
It's weak. I mean, it's weak. I mean, it's just because in selfishness, you need a fix. You need what you want. That's the only thing that matters to you. Different people can have different addiction. Like some are addicted to food, some are addicted to fame and power and money, prestige. Some are addicted to the sex and love addiction side of things. Some are addicted to various different things, or some are addicted to just being in power and control. So there's various different things, and you get your fix from that. That's it's all consuming at a deep level. It becomes so there isn't any awareness even of what does being nice mean. It doesn't even register. It's like you want. It's like, I don't know. It'd be like something like if I knew that I could visit someone's house and I could get away with the biscuits, that's where I'd go. If I knew there was someone who can tell who I am and is going to lock the biscuits up, I'm not going to go there. Because it's kind of obvious, isn't it? I suppose like a criminal. If you're going to steal from someone, you're going to steal from someone who's left the door and the window open. Someone who's got like 50 padlocks on it, 10 alarms, and a dog outside. It's just like, hey, this person knows who I am. I'm not going to go here. It's a bit like that. So it's like, it's not about, you don't really even have the awareness that that's a nice person, that's a bad person. That's still going to be difficult, that's going to be easy. You don't think of the other person. So you'll just take, you'd take, that wasn't my thing, but food was my thing. I'd definitely manipulate around food. But, you're going to, intuitively, you're going to go. You're pulled by a field and you can feel the people you can get the food from, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you're going to avoid someone who's like, the biscuit, there's like a padlock on the padlock in a safe and the biscuits are in there. You're not going back there. It's like, it's impossible. I mean, I'm going to find somewhere easy to get my biscuits from. Yeah. So, but they don't have awareness. I mean, I think one of the great things is, which a lot of people may not understand if you don't know what selfishness is that they aren't actually aware of you.
Yeah, that's
because you think, how can they do that and know that they're going to...
done that to me.
They've done that to me. Because that's a lot of spiritual people who think, doesn't he know the effects this is having on me? I mean, how could he have a conscience and do that?
But now I understand.
And actually, there's at a certain point, I mean, at certain points, at higher levels, there's a little bit of conscience. But at a low level, like when I was doing the Iron Barges, there was no conscience. I had absolutely no regard for the effects on him. It's like when I got my conscience back in my spiritual awakening, and I had to, you do in the 12 steps, you do an inventory of everything you've done selfishly in the past. You have like a selfish inventory. Then you have to try and apologise and make amends and restitution for everything that you've done.
It's very interesting. Sorry.
Yep.
Now I understand. This is
Well,
sensible. That's
you.
really helpful. It's just kind of, I never really put the two,
Yeah.
in a kind of that context.
Yeah.
And I always thought, oh my God, I was so traumatized by it.
Yes.
And luckily, after doing all my forgiving stuff, she left.
Yes, they can do.
I did a lot of forgiving.
they're run by a negative energy field. You're powerless. It's a thing. I mean, the only difference between a dumb addict and an intelligent addict does it more intelligently. A dumb addict would probably get would probably try and steal biscuits and get caught.
She was so far ahead of everyone, really.
Which makes them more, the intelligent one is more lethal.
The more lethal.
Yeah, and more dangerous, really. That's what I found. Actually, now makes more sense because she was so intelligent, very clever, and she was ahead of everyone else, really, in that respect.
Yeah, you have to speak to them in their language. You have to. Once you know what you're dealing with, and then they won't go for a soft target. You know, narcissists won't go for a soft target. They'll only go for easy targets.
The thing is, interesting what you're saying, because she knew myself and my colleagues would not say anything.
Yes.
She knew that I would have had that integrity. I wouldn't say anything. So she was free to do whatever, and the same with my colleague who was next to her. So she was certain that we wouldn't.
Well, you can pick it up. Yeah. You see, you go through phases, but then you learn spiritual discernment and spiritual wisdom. You know, like you've got to deal with people in the language that they understand. You know, if you're dealing with someone who's spiritual, you can deal with them in a spiritual manner. I mean, if you're dealing with you can probably deal with selfish builders. Let's take selfish builders. When we deal with selfish builders, you have to keep an eye on them, show them that you're strong. You know, be on top of it all the time, and they'll probably do the job.
Makes sense.
They probably do the job, but they're watching you with a really strong eye and watching every single detail and making sure they do everything, and they know they can't pull anything over you. They know, like, this person, I have to do the work properly, and then I have to finish because I'm not going to get away. But if you've got like a builder who's got no integrity, and they see that you're dumb, then you're just going to be fleeced.
Yeah, they'll take advantage of you if they can.
They'll take advantage if they. That's right. So that's what you've got to know with selfish people, addicts, narcissists. If you have to deal with them, then you deal with them in such a rigorous manner that they have no room. They'll probably leave you alone. Like if you had a builder and they knew they couldn't get away, they'd never work for you again. They'd try and find someone else. You see, they'd try and find someone who's a bit more naive. You see, so you've got to use the language appropriate to who you're speaking. Generally, above integrity, you can speak to them normally, and they have a conscience. But 50% of the UK is not integrity, meaning that they'd probably do a bad job if they knew they could get away with it. 50%, yeah. If you've got a boss who's on the game, then everyone will behave. But you have to it's because they know they can't get away with it. But if a selfish person below 200 can get away with it, they will. They also have no awareness of karma and consequences. So they just have to do what they do. You see, it just depends which type of addiction they're aligned with. So, if you've got an alcoholic in your house, your biscuits are safe, but your alcohol isn't, or if you've got someone who's addicted to fame and power or control, then those things are up for grabs, because those are the people, that's the way the addict or the narcissist gets its hit. So you have to see how they get their hit.
What is it they're
What
after?
is it? What is it they're after? Because in that place, they will manipulate and control, and their whole awareness is focused on getting that. So someone who's beyond power and money and fame, they'd just be 100% focused on more power, more money, and more fame. You see, or someone who's on biscuits would be more food. Someone with alcohol, more alcohol. Someone with sex and love addiction would be more of the opposite sex. So, or there's various other addictions with money as well. Gambling, you get the thrill out of the gamble, the reckless gamble. So there's various other ones. Some of them are more subtle. Some of them are, just people getting off from control.
Yeah, that's.
I've
got someone at work like that.
Being the leader.
Yeah, they get hits. Every time they bark orders, they get a hit.
That's right.
Hits.
That's right.
I've got somebody who's worked like this as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's right.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, they might get a management role or something. And, you know, you do that. You know, that's their hit, you know. You do that. You got to get that done by 3 o'clock. Then, you know, and then the more they can do that and boss you around, the more
they inflate and they feel better about themselves.
Yeah, they inflate. So different addicts have different ways, different narcissists have different ways and styles. The addictions generally are just a type of classification of narcissism or selfishness. Because I guess medically speaking, they say, oh, that's alcoholism. But generally it's still selfishness and narcissism to some extent, you know, what you want. So those are the things there.
Or just having the desire to control another human being.
Yes.
That in itself. Like I've got this 21-year-old at work and she just gets her hits out of barking orders and everyone is sort of so in awe of her because she's so young.
She's got this on camera.
Yeah, okay. She's got quite far. And rather than... I'm the only one that's seen through her because everyone else is in awe of her age. But I remember when I was 19, I was knitting Paul McKenna. I was doing all kinds of things at 19. So 21 is actually quite old. But she gets her hits out of barking orders wherever she possibly can, and she comes from a very well-off background, and you can see all that. And then everyone has spoiled her. And now she's moving jobs. She's coming to sit near me. And now she's buttering me up and coming up to me saying, I really like your lipstick today. And like, no, but last week you were trying to bark orders at me and now you like my lipstick. Because she's preparing me in case she might need me because she's now going into a new field. And I can see it all and I'm the only one that can see it. So I've told one other person and they've woken up to it, but no one else has woken up. And this is what it's like. It's like... having a scan machine in your eyes but no one else sees it. And it's nice in a way because you see the truth, but in another way it's like I wish you know, it's like hard to see the truth when everyone else is blind to that.
I can see.
Well, as soon as you can see what you're dealing with, then and you know how to deal with it, you know that's the important thing. You know, and you know, then you
it's much more difficult in a work situation.
It's
in a work situation. It's much more difficult.
I think it's tricky because one has to get along. You have to get along with people.
You have to,
and it's all about teams, and they love their teams.
Yes, I don't want to rock the boat.
It's very hard. I find it at work.
And group dynamics are very subtle anyway, and you just have to be. It's not as easy as going up to someone saying, "Can you stop barking orders now?" You can't do that. I might do that, say here, or I might do it in a restaurant,
your personal life,
or I might do it with my family. But work is
it's very different.
Very difficult.
It's usually
and I find any kind of conflict at work more difficult to deal with, really.
Because
I think in my personal life, I can be open, I can discuss it, I can,
But we're going back every day, 7-8 hours a day.
And you don't know how they're going to take it, and it's kind of really how they construe it, and how and you might end up in HR without even realizing it. It's quite really
kind of living with them.
Exactly.
Spending long hours of time with them. And it's so hard if 50% of them are muggles. Then you're stuffed, really, because
you're stuffed.
You haven't got company. You're on your own. We're in a lonely place where people are of a low integrity all around you. And the other really key thing here is that when people are in groups, the worst comes out. Because they've got each other, and then you get into group dynamics, the nastiness will come out more than when they're on their own. Because when they're on their own, they haven't got the guts to be nasty to you. Or, I feel like a lot of the people around me are quite jealous and intimidated by me. But when they're in a group, they can gang up and then very subtly dismiss. I might join in, and I just very subtly back that off. No. It's so subtle. It's so subtle. And that's what I have to live with while I'm concentrating on a high-level job all day, every day.
Yeah, I can totally
Yeah.
relate to that.
It's
I
an
can see,
unhealthy
yeah,
place.
It's very,
The
it is.
office is an unhealthy place.
It is. You're right.
They're not coming to Sabbir's group. They're not cleaning their hearts. They're not getting the rust out.
No.
They're not examining themselves. They're in this smaller space.
And the more, you know, if 2 or 3 of them, you know, I think I totally relate to that. You're right. You know, if there are 2 or 3 of them, you know, then kind of really subtle, because I've experienced that too.
But they
in
get
my
them on their
office.
own, and then
Yes,
two of
that's
them
right.
go to lunch,
Yeah.
and then that one's on their own. So when I get that one on their own, I always say, "How are you?" Because they have to be nice to me then.
I'm always doing definitely. I'm with you. It can be quite lethal, really, because I have experienced that too. You know,
And
2 or 3 of them gang up, you know, with suddenly without no reason.
They don't
find
come and
yourself-
say, "We're going to
you
hit
find-
you."
And I thought, what? You know, because I found
No.
myself, you know, being almost like accused, and I thought, what? I was not even aware of it, you know, not
But
at
maybe
all.
they're smelling
Yeah.
our innocence,
Yeah.
or in my case, naivety,
Yeah.
and maybe, you know, I can attract that, you know, like maybe I'm part of the problem.
Well, yeah, you're
Yes.
part. You are, I mean,
I want to own my
not
stuff.
really.
I just want to own my stuff.
well, you're claiming your power now. Your power is coming in. You see, you're in what I call, you know, the phase where you get your voice.
Teenage.
You're in the, what I suspect you're in the teenage
I
phase,
am.
which is good.
I am.
It's an improvement. So it's like
Yes.
Yeah.
And you said there's a clearing phase.
there's a clearing phase.
I'm in that phase too.
You know, and then you'll get to wisdom and discernment as well. And also, as your energy increases through forgiveness and praying for a miracle to see it differently, then you'll find all kinds. Like we have a person in this group, you know, who by doing a lot of forgiveness for people at work, these people may move or something miraculous may happen. So as you start to do the clearing work around these people, then sometimes whole environments or people change around you. And but also you'll learn spiritual discernment. Also, you know, it's energetic.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, like narcissists and selfish people, they just know. They don't know it mentally. They know to stay away from certain people. Their energy field is too powerful. So they leave you alone, you know, because you emit that. You haven't got that weak vibration in your aura. So like, once you start having that, because you've earned it through the spiritual work, you know, and you can see them, you know them, and they know they can't get away with anything, then they'll leave you alone.
That's the bit I'm really dying to ask you this. I could be at a pitfall now. This is where I get so confused around the course and around forgiveness, because at the moment I'm in the boundary stage and I've found my power, and if I get into forgiveness again, I'm worried I'm going to lose my power again, and I get into that Course in Miracles thing about I love my brother, I understand where they're coming from, and I get really confused.
That's a great. Yeah, I was going to talk about that actually. Actually, Hawkins did say with the Course in Miracles, he said that it's at 600. The lessons. The text is at 550, but he said it's not at 1000. So it's a thing of like. So he wanted to give the guidance because people could become spiritually naive. Spiritually naive because you're just doing I love my brother, I trust my brother. You know, which is.
It's like it's hugging the ex-murderer.
Yes, yeah.
That's the example you gave.
That's like hugging and trusting. You know, you're just affirming that you trust every human being. So you go through a phase of potential spiritual naivety, and actually you do even see the axe murderer as being absolutely a child of God, and you totally trust them.
Because you yourself, sorry to interrupt, but you yourself just said a few minutes ago that you feel sorry for the addicts and the narcissists. You know,
yes,
you know, and I could get into that.
Right.
I could get into feeling sorry for them, and then maybe loving them, and now I'm back talking to my dad.
Well, okay.
Sorry, can I just say something?
Go.
Marianne Williams had said something lovely. I remember years ago, I was listening to one of the tapes. She said, just because she was talking about a certain situation, somebody that she forgave, she made a comment like, and something along the line that just because you've forgiven them doesn't mean you have to have lunch with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I just go that further. Well, who am I to judge them? And it must be a horrible life that they've got.
No, you want to.
Maybe I'll have lunch with them.
You want to maintain spiritual.
Yes.
You want to maintain spiritual awareness. So you as your spirit becomes more ripe in this area, then to hold negativity towards another human being becomes more and more intolerable. To hold like anger, fear, grievance, it's not good for you.
That's right.
But you still have you start to get that spiritual wisdom of what you're dealing with. So you refuse to hold anger, you refuse to hold your thing, but you still can see what they are.
That's where I'm stuck now. I don't know what to do with that.
That's
where I'm at.
If you see like if a spiritual person sees a hungry lion as their brother, then they're going to be eaten. So but then later on you get the wisdom. You love the lion, or it could be that you refuse to hold anger and fear around the lion because you refuse that because you're committed to your being in that spiritual vibration of love. But you still have the awareness it's a hungry lion. You know that, and you take whatever you try and stay out of the fear and the anger, but you're not going to make friends with it.
Yeah.
So there's full clarity of what that is. Actually, the lion is on a certain level. It's not guilty. It's just hungry.
And that's where I fall, because then I say, well, they're not guilty, and then my boundaries come back down again.
Well, okay. You can see it in different ways. Selfish people are basically selfish people, you are their food. A lion is not really selfish on a certain level. It's just it wants its food. And it's hardwired to get its food. And it would be very difficult for a lion to have a conscience about you as a human being, being something that it needs to think about as having feelings and thoughts and relationships.
And in the meantime, I'm feeling sorry for them.
Well,
for being in that darkness.
Okay, here's the thing. If you want to have compassion for narcissists, don't enable their addiction. Yeah? So if I saw an alcoholic and I felt sorry for him, my compassion for him when you have wisdom is not to give him alcohol. It is actually in a way, but we're making the example simple. If I'm with a thief, the thing to have compassion for a thief is to keep him, is to not to leave my money out for him.
And that is compassion.
Yes, I think that's for you to frame it in that way.
That will help.
So you wanna look after them by not giving them their addiction, by being strong and showing you can't be taken advantage of.
But I don't want to stay in that dark state that you said a couple of minutes ago, of unforgiveness towards people or of.
Well, that is forgiveness. It's a compassionate energy. You see. Oh, I know. Let's say the owner of this house knew I had a problem with donuts. She might, out of love, lock up the donuts. Because she knows I can't stop myself from taking all the donuts. So it's not coming from an energy of she hates me.
Energy,
It's the energy now of the poor guy. He just has to eat everyone's donuts when they're out of the room. So I'm going to try and be helpful to him, and make sure he doesn't get donuts.
Is it if I boundary myself up and protect myself? That's where I can loving?
Well, you see, it's the intention. You see. I can lock up the donuts from a place of love and compassion, or I can lock up the donuts from anger and judgment. So the energy field is totally the energy field is totally different. One means you don't sacrifice your spirituality but you still take the right actions to deal with the person who can't help but get what they want at all costs. They can't stop themselves from doing it. So you have compassion for them, but it doesn't mean you give them what they want.
Yeah.
But out of a very strong energy field, you don't give them what they want. So, you know, or if I saw a hungry lion, you know, I stay resourceful in my spiritual connection, but I jump out of the way, you see.
So if I'm walking around the office and I see someone that I happen to know is selfish and negative, can I walk past them and not choose to have lunch with them?
Yes.
And still be a spiritual,
Yes.
still be spiritually.
You do it from a place. You do it from the highest vibration you're able to.
Yeah.
You show strength from. Actually, that is the true meaning of assertiveness. You know, it's from a place of integrity and love.
Yeah.
You know, but it's very, very strong.
But am I being selfish? Because if by having lunch with them, I find they drag me down, and I decide I don't want to have lunch with them because they're kind of dark, and yet they want to have lunch with me. If I say no to having lunch with them, does that make me selfish?
No, because you're doing it out of love.
No.
You're doing it out of love. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But they want to have lunch with me so they can
okay. So
toxically download
you want to
stuff on
understand
me because I'm a good listener.
Well, you want to understand the thing of okay,
Yeah.
this might help. You know, when we do kinesiology, we say in the interest of the highest good of all concerned. Yes. So God's will is always the loving action which will serve everyone to the best ability. Yes.
Yes.
So the most loving thing for you and that individual, what is the highest loving thing to do? Yeah, and that would be God's will.
They want to be with me, and for me, I don't want to be with them.
Well, you know, I'd say actually there's only one choice, which is the highest choice, which is the most loving choice. So it'd be like, you know, don't give them what they want because they're not in integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look after, remain in love and compassion.
Yes.
While you say no to them.
That's what
very hard. You know, you act out your firmness from a place of love, but you don't show weakness.
I feel like such a teenager. Like you're having to parent me and teach me how to grow up. Like this is like really hard.
No, I think
it's hard for me to get.
No, it is quite an advanced spiritual thing.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to be firm with another individual from a place of compassion is quite an advanced spiritual thing.
Because I definitely know I need to be firm, but I don't want to become a hater or like I don't want to go down in my energy field because I'm missing my Course in Miracles high field. I miss it.
Oh, well, what you do is you be firm with them, but let's say in the beginning you're firm with them with anger.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you have to like work on. You know, I pray to be firm with compassion. You see, I pray to be able to say no. And be strong with compassion. You see, like I was explaining what a selfish person is to hopefully give you guys. You know, actually, one is not aware of one is being said. One is hardwired to get what one wants. And there is no consciousness of you being an entity. So it's easier for me to have compassion because I was that. And one of the main problems with people is they don't understand how can you have a conscience and do that. But actually they don't have a conscience, you see. So then you can have compassion. It's like, I mean, it's not a great life. You have to eat biscuits every time you see them. You know, it's like.
And then I fall into the trap. But it's not a great life. Let me have lunch with them. I feel sorry for them.
Well, that's
is that pity?
No. Well, that you know that's not helping them. Or you know, it's actually making them more crazy, and it's making you crazy as well. So it's a lose-lose scenario.
It's not helping them.
So you want to contextualize it as being tough on, like, you know, probably, you know, if there was no one if there was no naive people to take advantage of, then you probably have to like force yourself to get spiritual. You see?
Yeah.
So, you know, like in some environments, you can't, you know, if you can't get your drug, then you're forced to have to find spirituality because you go into a crash.
Because you don't know, you might do them in big favour, really.
I'm an enabler.
Yeah. See it as enabling.
I'm an
Like,
enabler.
like if Demetra knows I have an addiction to biscuits and she just leaves her biscuits out all the time. It's like, you know, if she wanted to be kind, she'd like make sure no one, all the people she knows that I go and steal biscuits from, don't give me any biscuits, so I can't find any biscuits, then I'll go into agony, and then suddenly I have to find God, you see.
Yeah.
But it's okay, I can, you know, Demetra doesn't care, I just... Oh, I said that is that alright if I said that on camera? Yeah, sorry. So the owner doesn't mind if I just take the biscuits. So it's actually kindness not to, you know, if you play along with the game. I didn't see you finish the biscuits. So you want to be, you know, it's doing your bit in the universe to not allow these people to do their thing. Yeah. And then they can find, it's like you'll speed up the process with God, that they get to a point where they experience pain with their behaviour. When they experience pain with the behaviour, usually there's an opportunity for a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
So
I went through a stage, I think that you're going through, where I was very much into, I trust my brothers who are one with me.
Yeah.
I had an extraordinary amount of people who took from me. You know, in fact, I'd be a lot better off now if I didn't trust my brothers.
Because you went on holiday, didn't you? And then you were stolen from.
Oh, stolen from, but also friends and you know, so-called friends ripped me off financially. And, just an extraordinary amount. But now I'm very much I trust in and I trust in Allah, but I lock up my camel. So since I came to London, nobody's ripped me off. I just needed to break and start a new life and just be careful who you let into your life.
And you didn't find your vibration going down?
Well, I love these people, and they're charming and good looking, and you know, just sort of, and I always felt a bit in fear. I thought they were all much better looking than I was, and smarter than I was, and all of these things, and they were fun party people, but they had their hand in my pocket. You know, in Mexico, forget Mexico, you can't go a day without getting ripped off.
No.
It's
the love of my brother.
You know.
That wouldn't work.
No, it doesn't. No. I used to go I had a lovely place in Mexico, and the people, you couldn't tell the difference between the ones who would rip you off and the ones. And so I used to keep a deco wallet. The wallet would disappear more often than not. No matter what you do, you think your eye on them. They're just experts, but they're surviving.
Yeah.
You know, because
and in a way, it's not personal, is it?
I know, and then again, one of the nice things about it, some of my friends were millionaires, and some had absolutely nothing. And the millionaire and the guy who had nothing got along just great. You know, so that part I like. And they're lovely people, you know, on this, but you just don't know who's going to.
Well, that was the lovely people. That's when you can't see behind the lovely people.
You can. No, they're so good at it.
That's right.
Yeah,
I wish
they're like the narcissists are like that too.
My father was here today, and you could see how amazing he is. Honestly, no one in his street knows that he's so well covered up.
No, and
he's so gregarious, he's so sociable. He's well dressed, he wears cravats, he's 6'2", he looks like David Niven. He's got all the lovely drinks in his cabinet, you know. He's got all the friends, he's got the parties, you know. He's a gregarious man, he's a very handsome man. You know, that's
is he happy?
Oh, he's in his
no. But they're very good at putting on the front.
Yeah.
That they are happy.
That's what you're describing. These lovely people. They're so charismatic. They're lovely to be around.
I
totally get you. And you know, it's not always as obvious as it might seem to now that we've had a lecture about selfishness, I don't know if I'll ever have a problem again, but I needed to know this stuff.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, they say in Ireland, too early old, too late smart.
Too early on. Sorry,
Which I
how
know.
does it go? Too early on?
Too quick or too early old, and too late smart.
Too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean,
Yeah,
here's a 50-year-old teenager in the house. I'm 50, and I'm a teenager.
Yeah.
So, late smart. Yeah.
So-
Can I just say something?
Yeah. Yes, I mean the world is a kind of a reflection of what's on the inside, but still, at a certain point, when there's spiritual discernment, the field of love remains, but there's still spiritual discernment on how to be. So it's like with spiritual discernment, there's spiritual wisdom,
Yeah.
and it's like the spiritual field orchestrates the channel in the interest of the highest good of all concerned. So it's not like the spiritual field is dumb. Actually, the spiritual field has wisdom and love at the same time. So it's wisdom and love. There's a field of spiritual naivety as you're starting to grow, which is like seeing the lovability of all of creation, the equal lovability of all creation, and seeing the innocence of all of creation, and then having your purse stolen, you see, at the same time. So that's spiritual naivety. In when spiritual wisdom, which is the third eye, when you can spot like a criminal. You know, you have the wisdom to spot a criminal because you've now gone through all the energy levels, and you've transcended everything. So you know, to transcend the ego, you must know every aspect. You've transcended every single aspect of the ego, and therefore you have that discernment. See, as I transcended addiction, it still meant I still have now the wisdom to have transcended that and have that discernment, you see. So you're often another field, you're not naive, you see. So some people are naive, so you don't have that. So then you know, it's still holding to the field of love, but it's not dumb love,
Yeah.
you know. And actually,
Yeah.
you know, the highest levels of wisdom are, you know, love is sometimes to be very, very firm. Love is sometimes to be very strong. Love is sometimes to not allow behavior to go on. You see, that can be love. You see, it may seem fierce, but it's coming from love. You see, so the energy, because kinesiologically, when you're in anger, your body goes weak. You're going to get drained eventually.
Yes.
You're going to, if you're in constant anger and you're fighting the bad people all the time, your body, through kinesiology, your body is weak. Anger is weakness. Whereas when you see that's the right thing to do, to be firm with someone, and you are firm with someone, but you're maintaining a high vibration like love. Then you won't get weak, because the field of love is limitless. It will sustain you forever. The field of anger will weaken you as long as you're in the field. So you know, it's like discernment, but discernment. Now, one of the things when you're in the intermediate phases, like if you're a spiritual teenager, is at least get to neutrality. Neutrality is a very lovely place, because love is a very advanced spiritual field. So like, if you can just be neutral with people and firm, neutral and firm is easier to do as a teenager. You know, I'm not going to get emotionally involved, but I'm going to be tough. I'm not going to be in anger or fear or aggression, but I'm going to try and stay neutral and detached and still be firm. So that's easier to do.
Yeah.
Or you can do the observer. The observer is a way of actually escaping all harm, because you're not going to allow hooks in. You know, you're not going to purchase any hooks. But still, neutrality is going to be easier, and then work towards, because you're misunderstanding what love is. Love doesn't mean dumb. You know, love doesn't mean naive. Love doesn't mean like you know, I'm going to.
Blindness, isn't it?
Yeah, that doesn't mean that's not. There is a phase of that, especially if you do spiritual work like the Course in Miracles, like love your brother as yourself, or I trust my brother, I trust my life with my brother, whatever it is. Then it's this naive phase can come up, which is quite normal. But then you need teachers or groups that sort of tell you, yeah, but you know, it's like I was trying to love this person and they stole my wallet. So what went wrong? So the group or the teacher will tell you that it's not, you know, it's not. You've not yet actually developed wisdom yet. It's just another growth spurt. So. You know, I'd be quite happy to be very, you know, from a place of love, if I thought it was the right thing to do, you know, to be quite aggressive with a person. But not from anger, because I know it's from a place of the highest good and the highest love, that that's the right thing to do. And that wouldn't make my body go weak. But if I was to do it from a field of anger, it would make my body go weak. And it's okay if I do temporarily weak, but I don't want to stay in anger for very long. You know, I want to get to peace or love, and ideally take action from neutrality or love or acceptance, and still take the action. That way you're not going to destroy yourself. If you allow... Anger is a very powerful energy. It's like an inflated ego energy. But it has a lot of negative consequences. But also, not only in destroying your body, but it's a field of energy attraction. Anger. So, you know, if you're going to stay in anger, you're going to get angry situations coming up all over the time. You just come, you know, like you go into the supermarket and you'll get someone serving you who's very angry. Or you'll have angry people bump into you. Because you don't want to hold that energy field of anger, because it's going to attract bad situations to you. So really, oh yes, there's a good example, I think Hawkins described it. You know, like in karate, they know that you must keep your peace and calm to be the best. And that they actually try and make the opponent angry, because you go weaker. An angry opponent is actually weaker. You can defeat an angry opponent quicker. So often the martial arts, you know, they keep their center, they keep in total peace and in the moment. And they try and do something to provoke anger in the opponent, you know, and then they know when they're angry, they you know, they move too quickly, their body goes weak, and they get them. You see, so
that's great. I love that.
So the martial arts, which are very clever, they know that. I mean, most naive people think anger is a very strong energy, but your body actually goes weak. You know, if you can maintain your serenity and peace, you're actually faster and stronger. See, it's actually true. That's why the martial arts know that. So they always keep their center. They don't go into fear or anger. You know, they stay absolutely present and centered. And they have the edge. And if they make the opponent angry, it's a bit naughty, you know, make the opponent angry, and then they're weaker and they tend to move in the wrong, too fast or too slow. So they get them, you see. So that's how you have to be with wolves. You have to be like, you know, you have to be like, retain your peace and serenity, but, you know, you have to know how to behave with them, whether it be fierce. It's not really fierce. It's like being assertive is really the right word. It's like being very, very firm and assertive and strong, but coming from a spiritual energy. Whereas anger is really an ego energy. You know.
That's a good distinction.
And it's okay to be in an ego energy, but you want to get out of it as quickly as possible. If someone's coming towards you and you have to be angry, then be angry, but don't stay in anger. You might forgive them, or do the Course in Miracles, or go and do self-inquiry and go to the observer. But still, and then you'll find that you'll be able to maintain that firmness, but from a higher spiritual vibration. And then that will deal with it. And often when you're at a higher spiritual vibration, these are often lessons. These people keep coming, or these job situations keep staying, until such time there's full transcendence. Usually when there's full transcendence...
Tell me, I'll be taken out of there.
Usually, I think that's the normal thing is that you get taken out. And I think in some situations, like we've had in I know people who the boss has been taken out, or there are certain members. I had that. I was in a spiritual group. I think I've shared this in my book. You've read it in my book. So there was this lady that came to one of my to a spiritual group I attend, and she was like a strong atheist. She couldn't stand the word God, and I have to say God all the time when I speak. And I'm not, an atheist trying to stop me from saying God is going to have the worst. The opposite.
It's going to make you say it more.
It's going to. An atheist trying to make me stop saying God. It's not going to. So I was in ego as well. So I said God even more. You see. So. And she was like her anti-God sort of anti-God messaging. So that was happening, and I was in ego. I didn't particularly like her, and she didn't. So we had this, but but anger is not a good energy. I knew that. If I maintain anger, I'll lose my spirituality, and I'll lose my health, and eventually I'll go down in vibration, which is the most horrific thing. So I had to pray for her. I had to pray for her and do the Course in Miracles and do self-inquiry. And share and pray vigorously for her. And then one day, I woke up and I knew there was no anger in my heart. I just knew there was 100% lifting. I had absolutely not an ounce of anger or resentment or grievance. And I went, and this is a true story. I went to the meeting that day and I knew I hadn't got anything in her. It was a totally different energy. And she came up to me on that day, and she said, Sabbir, she said, Sabbir, you've taught me a great spiritual lesson, and I just have to let you know I'm leaving the country. Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. I mean, it sounds a bit unbelievable, but that's what happened. And it was like she was like lifted out of the group into another country on exactly the same day that the resentment removed completely. So that can happen, or I'm sure, as I told you before, I was working in the stock market and various environments. I didn't go back to those environments. So I think it's more common to leave the environment when you go higher, but sometimes it can happen that you stay in the environment and certain people leave, or it can happen that you make. I've had things as well with people in groups where there's been irritation, and then eventually there's been love and forgiveness of each other, and we become friends. So I remember there was one spiritual group, because I'm in spiritual groups all the time. One guy didn't like me particularly that much. I didn't have anything against him, I just think he didn't like me, and he was like sort of saying things. Anyway, and I had to pray for him, and I think he eventually had to pray for me. And one day we let it go, both of us together, and we became friends, you see. And I totally forgot about it, and I would ask him, how are you doing? And he'd ask me how I'm doing, and there was this great camaraderie. So that's a miracle from this, so those can happen as well. I think if the other person or the environment, so all kinds of miracles, something is going to happen. Either the environment will change, or people will leave, or it won't affect you any longer. So
I very nearly got taken out a few weeks ago because I very nearly got a promotion, and I was going to be based on another site, and then the person wrote to me and said, just there's so many budget changes, and she said, you're safer. She said, I don't want to take you out if it's not sustainable, and it's safer. You've got a more secure thing where you've got now. And she sent me a smiley face, and she's really senior. So I think it could only be a matter of time before something like that might happen. But I got quite close to jumping out, and it felt quite nice for a while. And then God said, no, stay a bit longer. But
maybe you need some work there.
I need some work there, yeah. It's like I really, really love my job, so it's almost like 50% I love.
Yes.
It's just I just like having incessant small talk around, sitting all day, and I don't know how to manage that really. Just incessant small talk, and that's how it is. So I can't opt in or out of it. It's just there, just
I know very much what you're talking. I do know what
Do you
you're
have
talking.
that all day long as well?
Well, at the moment, the person, oh God, this is terrible. I think the person was the biggest gossip.
Is it okay?
Oh my God, yeah. I think.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, so so I'm going to coin this. This just came out in my head today. Spiritual judo,
Yes,
and especially for spiritual seekers who are, going through those initial growth phases, whereby they're having to defend themselves in difficult work environments. So in order to have the highest, in order to take the actions which are in the interest of the highest good with spiritual wisdom, you need to have the capacity to have spiritual vision of what you're dealing with and what's the playing field like in, for example, a work environment. You need to know all the members who are in integrity, all the members who have compassion. You also need to know all the members who are selfish or self-centered, and to what extent they're selfish and self-centered. And then in order to influence the dynamics for the greatest good, there has to be wisdom in your interactions with each member. And if intuitions come to you of what needs to happen to serve the highest good in that group situation, then you'll know that in order to get some people along, you may have to be tough. In order to have some people, you need to be tough with some people, especially people usually in non-integrity. There's one way. One is being tough, or one is giving them an incentive. That's often a more clever way. If you can get people who are in non-integrity to see that your view will be better for them in the long run, then sometimes you can buy them up, because selfishly they'll want to do what you want them to do. See, that's spiritual judo. Like, hey, if we're all honest at work, I'm pretty sure with the boss we're all going to get bonuses. And then you see, because they're selfish, but then they can see the selfishness of that, you see. So, you get them up. Now, if you say to someone who's selfish, it's a good thing to do, it's a humane thing to do, to be integrous and to help other people, that is not, that's like, there's nothing in it for them, you see. That's not spiritual judo. So you speak to them in their language,
Like
and
you
influence them in the language that they understand. And that will be in the interest of the highest good for the organisation, you see. Because with people who are in integrity, you say, hey, we want to spread more love into the world and do a good job. And that will buy them. You see, that's how you do. That's how you get them on board, because that's the language they understand. Yeah, we can do more good. Let's really get fired up at work to do more good for the world. And then with the non-integrous, you might do something like, if actually honesty and integrity while you're at work means we're all going to get bigger bonuses at the end of the year. We're going to get bigger Christmas bonus, because I know the manager said we didn't get a good Christmas bonus because people were complaining about dishonesty. And then you go, then for their own self-interest, they'll see that. Or the other way to deal with non-integrity is just firmness. Like you know what's going on, you're firm, you can't be taken advantage of. And you see, you do that, and then they start to behave, because there's no room for them to get away with misbehaving. So that those things come when you have spiritual clarity as well. You also want to have what I call vibration management. Anger.
I love this. Can you do a workshop on this?
Yeah.
Vibration management, I like that.
Vibration management.
Yeah.
I need my vibrations managed.
You need vibration.
I love that.
Like even if you're in
Vibration management.
vibration,
I'm in the right place.
vibration management. Yeah, you see, in order to maintain your spiritual protection and the grace, the fields of grace, you need to maintain the highest spiritual vibration you can. Ideally love, but even acceptance or neutrality is fine. But remember, things like anger and fear or judgment, which judgment, jealousy are just different fields of that. All of those are actually non-spiritual vibrations. Whereas, it's okay if you dip into them for a short period of time, but you should get out of them ASAP.
I'm thinking I'm spending a lot of time in judgment right now.
Well, there's a difference between judgment and discernment. Neutral discernment and judgment is different. Like if I know someone is non-integrous in a kind of a non-angry, non-judgmental way, but I know that's what I'm dealing with. You can see a wolf and not be judgmental. It's just a wolf.
I think I'm quite excited now, because on Monday I think I'm going to jump from judgment to discernment.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump from like, you're mindless, to now I know what I'm dealing with you. I'm going to detach neutrally and I'm going to engage with you in a different way.
Perfect.
I've got it.
That's perfect. That's how.
Maybe my health will get better, because I've got like my shoulders ripped out. I'm really like not well at the moment. So maybe I think this is going to work.
Yes, you want, when you have to be, when you're dealing with people with non-integrity, you want to be in the field of anger, judgment and fear as little as possible.
Yeah.
I'm in disbelief, like how can you be mindless all day? And I need to step out of that.
Yeah.
Not everyone operates like in this flat.
No,
I need to just step out of this disbelief and this despondency. Like, 7 hours, are you really going to keep going? Sure, and I can't believe it.
Yes.
And that disbelief is just draining me. Yeah. Draining me.
Yeah, you can look at a wolf. If you know a wolf is a wolf, you don't judge a wolf. It's just a wolf, and its nature is wolf.
Like we've always had the tall trees and the short trees.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
it's the same.
It's the same thing. So when you know a wolf is a wolf, you can get to a place where you don't judge the wolf, but you know you're dealing with the wolf.
Yeah.
And so you use the appropriate language and behaviour to deal with the wolf.
Well, I don't get there because I stay in judgment, then I turn it back on myself and say, get out of judgment, love them, and I keep in a vicious circle, and I can't get to where you're talking about. Do you see? I can't get to discernment because I turn it back on myself and I attack myself for being in judgment of them. Now I need to go to love. So I go from judgment to love with nothing in between, and I get really lost.
You want to go to love with discernment or love with wisdom, not just love, because love can sound naive. Yeah, you don't want to you don't want to lie down in front of a hungry wolf, because that's not the loving thing to do. You see, you want to have love with discernment. You see, I think one of the great things was. It's not the right example to give you because you might take it in the wrong way, but I'm going to give it anyway, and hopefully. I mean, Gandhi was someone who had spiritual discernment in extremely difficult, but you might take it in the wrong way. But don't. There's often spiritual discernment in very difficult situations, whereby paths are shown, which are illuminated of spiritual genius to get through situations which are extremely difficult. So that spiritual genius comes from a field of extreme love for all concerned and extreme spiritual wisdom and discernment at the highest level. Spiritual genius, to find roots, to create peace, and to create as little harm as possible to the highest good. So it's a very, very high energy field. Now, but it's also spiritual genius. It's also spiritual genius. So spiritual naivety is not the highest form of love. In fact, it usually ends up with the spiritual person going into a low vibration and being of no good and use to the world. So naivety, you need groups or teachers to tell you you're in a spiritually naive phase, otherwise you're going to get eaten up. So in the work environment, if you go into anger or judgment, you want to choose discernment and neutrality initially. Discernment and neutrality and strength.
And don't go for Gandhi immediately.
No, I think Gandhi's not the right. I couldn't.
Gandhi.
Gandhi is one of my great role models. So I
Yeah.
couldn't help but mention his name,
No,
but he's
yeah,
the wrong one
that's-
for you to role model at the
Well,
moment.
it might be a bit too high.
At this very moment.
But at this very moment, but I do love what you say about roots
Yeah.
of peace, and I feel really happy in that. I want to go back to work like that. I do.
Well, you want to be. You just no. It's. I'm talking about internal peace. I'm talking about maintaining your managing your spiritual vibration means you maintain your peace, but you act appropriately with wisdom to whoever you're around. That's what I'm saying. Because otherwise you'll get confused into spiritual naivety, and love and peace meaning I'm a doormat. Love and peace doesn't mean I'm a doormat. The loving action is to know when you're dealing with the wolf how to deal with the wolf, and the highest way to deal with the wolf isn't to lie down and be naive. It's not the highest. It's not the loving action to do. So sometimes love, it can seem appropriate to be fierce, but you're coming from love. It's a fierceness, but it comes from, it's the right thing to do. It's the loving highest intention in this mode is to be very, very firm with a person, but it won't blow out your energy. It won't blow out your kinesiologically. It won't blow out all your acupuncture meridians because your motive is very high. It's coming from a place of high love and strength. It might come across as a bit overly firm, but actually your energy field is protected because your motive is good and you're coming from a field of the highest good for all concerned.
As long as it's not anger.
Anger is really an ego energy, and sometimes it can't be avoided. But it's not useful in any way to stay in that energy field for any length of time.
Yeah.
So okay, if you get angry, that can be natural, especially if you're not Buddha. It can be natural to get angry at people, but it's not good to stay there because it's an ego field. It's an energy which will attract this anger towards you and angry environments, and you'll become angry. So it's like, okay, anger happens. For example, something happens in the work environment. If you have to act out of anger, but process it ASAP.
Yeah.
And then in future situations, after you processed it, you can come from a place of neutrality or firmness or love or discernment, but strong love, not naive dumbness. Because another way to see it is naive dumbness is not the highest love and is not the highest good for the world concerned.
I think I needed to hear that today.
So just being dumb and nice and a doormat all the time is actually not the highest service and the highest use of love, the highest expression of love, because this is a world of duality. It's a world of integrity and non-integrity. So the people who can have the greatest effect are those who can see clearly and have the spiritual wisdom and discernment to create the greatest change for love and peace. And that can mean that they're adaptable because they know when you're dealing with, if you've transcended an ego, you know how to deal with an ego. And dealing with an ego, like showing you're spiritually dumb, is not the way to deal with an ego, to create a change in this world. Because that's to someone who's very grossly selfish and narcissistic, showing that you're spiritually dumb is just going to they're going to inflict damage on you, and you're going to be angry, and then you're going to be an ego as well. You see, to live in anger.
So you go down the ladder, really.
You go down the ladder. They pulled you down to their level.
Yes.
Oh, how could you be so cruel? Well, I'm going to be cruel as well.
Yeah.
So that's judgment and anger lead. If you stay there too long, you adopt that energy field. You tune into radio, angry, revenge, FM. That's better than they are eventually.
And when they're all mindlessly babbling on all day, can I just protect myself psychically from the pollution of it?
Yeah.
The noise, but it's quite polluting to hear this mindless stuff all day. That I don't know, because when they talk, I literally cannot believe. I mean, like, I really, really have come out of the world to a level that it's terrifying. Like, they talk about school and barbecues at the weekend and the holidays, and I'm literally like, I can't even believe. Like, I know. Do you know where I'm coming from?
It's not helpful to tune in and to process it in that way. and
I can
because
see, yeah,
just
I can
being
see.
honest, like I
Yeah.
have to be honest where I'm at.
That's fine.
No, that's fine.
Great.
Yeah,
That's great.
don't-
Actually,
do not-
You're
do not-
honest.
But I can't, like, I've left it all behind me now and I have to sit and hear it all day and I don't know what to do, you know.
look, another thing with you is do not attack yourself.
Yeah.
Do not self-attack
Yes.
yourself or see that others are judging
Exactly.
you. You must refuse self-attack thoughts.
Okay.
You know, or you know, you're not attacking
Mm.
yourself. I can see you're one of these people who attack yourself not being perfect,
So,
Mm.
yeah.
and
But-
guilt.
but, you know, but Sabbir, you know, I've after Muji, when we went to that Kensington event, I came out of there like my whole life, culture, society, media, it left me. It's gone. I've left the world. I'm not interested in anything.
Well, yes, you are.
No.
You're very interested in the world. I can tell
I'm
you.
interested in the spiritual world, but you know,
What-
well, people are invested in
Yeah.
their children's education, and you know, we do this at the weekend, and then we go and do that, and just and then they talk about the typhoons and the water levels, and they know it all. They've read all the news about the heat rising up, and I'm just like, surely, why? Like,
Well,
That kind of really doesn't bother me at work, actually, that kind of mindless, kind of conversation. It doesn't actually bother me. What it does bother me is the bitchiness, kind of the gossipy. That mindless, is kind of, okay, that's where
it's
they are.
fairly clean.
That's
isn't
where
it?
they are at. It doesn't really bother me
Yeah.
that much, to be honest, no. I think what bothers me is almost like the backbiting, the kind of
are we
bitchiness.
okay for this to be? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
making me
that's-
realise that my team are fairly clean, actually. You know,
Uh,
to an extent. Sometimes there's a little bit of ganging up, but a lot of the day they're quite a happy bunch and they're clean.
Okay.
They talk about the news all day, and I'm there like thinking like,
Well, it's not. It's not.
that-
It's
I've
not
gone.
it's, you're tuning into it.
Yeah.
You see, you're tuning into it. It's actually interesting to you. Here's the thing. You say you're not interested. You are interested. That's the problem. The problem is you're interested in what they're saying. Remember, when we go to the observer, there's the observer, there's a detached observer, there's non-interested observer. When you get to the non-interested observer, it disappears. You see, like if people are talking about, I don't know, they're just gossiping in the background, and there's zero interest in it, you actually wouldn't hear it the whole day.
like if a plane went by today and you're talking, I wouldn't even know it went
Yeah,
by because
that's
I'm
right.
listening to you.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying if there's no interest in the plane, you wouldn't hear the plane. Like I'm at home and there's a tube going by every few minutes, the Piccadilly line, I don't hear it.
Yeah.
So,
And
Yeah.
I'm really, really,
Yeah.
really interested in my work, and I'm really
Yeah.
busy. I've got so much to do, but it's a really fun job, and I manage my whole time. It's great. I can decide what I want to do all day. It's a great job.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
you have like, you might have a lunch break or something. Like sometimes in a lunch break, you might want to sit in the office for 10 minutes and do some clearing. You see? Like do the
we have a
observe.
prayer room. I go to the prayer room.
No, I mean in the office. I mean in the office while you've got the triggers, you see. Because,
It's the same in the prayer room, is it not? You can do that work in the
you can do
prayer
the work. You can also do the work
Right.
in with the trigger. Like
Yeah.
for example now, if I was affected by cars,
Oh,
I could say, okay, well, what's observing
Okay.
the car, and is there an observer with no interest in the car noise, and it would disappear. You
Could
see?
it be that I am interested because I feel like, to be honest, I think you're going to relate to this, is that there's a silent pressure to be a good team player. And
Yeah.
in order to be a good team player, you must stay
Yes, I
involved.
know.
And
Yeah.
in where I work, they're so
Yes.
into their teams.
It's
And
all about
their
team
teams have got
collaboration and all this
friendship.
rubbish.
They've got friendships going back years. They swap
Yeah.
photos. One of them is a relative of the baby, of the this, and it's like,
Oh, okay.
it's like if you can't fit in, if you can't play that game to a certain degree, then you don't fit in. So I believe that could be one of the reasons why I'm interested.
Yes, yeah. Your survival is based on fitting into the team. Yeah, there's something clever you can
But
do.
you can partly fit into the team, really. You can just occasionally go to their, lunches. You can do, not lunch, for example, I go to Christmas lunches, I go, but I choose to have lunch with certain people. I don't go with, to have lunch with everyone in the team, no. And possibly, yes, there might I don't know what the conversation is. Well, that doesn't bother me. But I do go occasionally to certain things, to certain events.
Just to be part
Yes.
of it.
I've always had this reputation of not participating, but it didn't bother me very much, But I occasionally go, to kind of
Just to play the game.
Yeah. Not just that. Sometimes it can be quite fun as well, But I don't really want to kind of go all the time because I know what's happening. It's kind of really, there's a lot of gossiping goes on. So kind of I don't really want necessarily that. So.
And I think if I'm focusing on my work and they're talking about the typhoons and I'm not listening and joining in about the typhoons, then I'm a bad team player. You wouldn't believe it though. It's so important to be sociable where I had no idea. I had no idea that local government was like that. So I think that could be the reason why I don't lock them out. Because you trained me last year how to lock them out.
Yeah, that's right. There's a belief system.
Yes.
You've got fear-based belief systems.
Yeah,
There's something very clever you can do.
Okay.
Which is now one way which may work or may give you trouble is to totally cancel a belief system, but there is a clever way of doing it. Like I shared this with getting off. When I had my transplant, you've both heard me the story. I had the 13 medication. Now I could have said I don't need any medication, and I cancel my belief in all medication. But I didn't do that. I cancelled my belief in the adverse effects of medication. I'm an infinite being. So there's ways of but you have to find out what your beliefs are around why you think it's so important to be a team player.
I think I'll be out of work.
Okay, so I'll be out of work.
I described myself the other day as a leper. Ostracised as a leper. If I don't join in.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. So you can do cancel my belief.
And sorry, you said you had a reputation for not. Yeah, that's.
That I'm not participating in all the events.
I think in that
just
sort of fear-based thing. Yeah, and it bothers me a lot. Yeah. Well, you've obviously transcended it.
Here's the thing. But you want to take it in the context of spiritual wisdom. Is you just say I cancel. You could say I cancel my fear that I'm going to lose my job. I'm an infinite being subject only to what I hold in mind. I cancel my belief I'm a leper. I'm an infinite being subject only to what I hold in mind. I cancel my belief I need their approval in order to keep my job. I'm an infinite being subject only to what... We're on camera.
Yeah. Oh, you are?
Yeah, we're on camera right now.
I didn't think you were.
So there's various beliefs. You want to take the fear out of it.
Yeah.
So anything when you've got a belief that creates fear, then that will mean you have to latch in.
Yeah.
You're not giving yourself permission to detach. You see, so these fear-based. So what we're doing, and I'm explaining to you, is we want to eliminate all your fearful thoughts, so that you have a sense of all will be well, whatever I do.
Yeah. Because deep down, if they say, look, I am on a 5-day contract, and if they ask me to leave on Friday, although I don't have anywhere else to go, I actually wouldn't be that bothered. So I don't know why.
Well, that energy field will keep you safe.
Yeah.
It's the energy field when you have complete trust will mean that whether you keep the job or not, another job will appear immediately.
Yeah.
But if you hold the energy of fear, then you could lose the job, or even if you even if you left the job, it might take a long time before you get another job because you're in the energy of fear.
Yes.
So you want the energy field of absolute trust and peace. So, but so the thing is, you've got these belief systems, they're very strong, they're very common ones for the collective. I have to fit into the group dynamic, or I'll be fired, and then I'll die. Usually, something like that. That's the normal one.
Totally correct.
That's the thing. So you want to cancel those beliefs. You're cancelling the beliefs to let go of the fear, and actually you'll find things will go better when you're in a field of trust and safety. It'll be like the spiritual field will orchestrate you and protect you and look after you and give you guidance. You see, but you can safely let go of any thought form based on fear. You don't want it in your consciousness. because it's preventing you from unhooking and being in a more spiritual field.
It's the worst one, isn't it? There's only shame that's worse.
Shame is the worst field.
And then fear, isn't it?
Well, yes, being a leper is quite shameful, but
and I felt that way the other day, isn't it?
that's normal. That's a normal thing, you know. Fear of losing the group identity will lead to death is a primal primitive thing.
It could be that I'm just not a group player.
No, you want to cancel that belief. You see,
Yeah.
all of this stuff is like you want to cancel. You want to cancel your belief that you can cancel your belief that you're not a team player.
I think it's true.
Well, you know, you don't want to hold like baggage around it. You know, you want to be like a clear channel. Let God orchestrate everything.
Okay.
You don't need to dictate that you're good or bad
Okay.
to God. And then you'll be clear. You see, because
Okay, I feel great. Like, I suddenly have like this moment. I just feel like it's all going to be all right.
yeah, you want to hold that field, and it's okay to detach when you're in the field of acceptance and love and trust. You'll see everything will be okay. But you're holding like dead weight, these belief systems. Trust, if you let go of fear-based and limiting belief systems, that the energy field they will be in will look after you. You know, the energy field of trust and safety, and also, you know, psychically, if you hold like you don't like everyone, you know, psychically it's not a good energy field to hold in the office environment.
Yeah.
You know, because
Definitely.
so much better is like I don't care, or I'm detached, or I can't even hear it. That's a much better energy field than I don't like you. Because you know, just like, you know, dogs, you know, dogs can somehow pick up if you have an energy of love, or you know, and so
there's someone in my team to tell me that they get a sense that I have disapproval. You know, I've got the evidence that is how I come across.
well, you're in the team, you know, don't you know, remember not to attack yourself.
But I got very low that evening. I stayed late and I ended up talking to this person. I went home and I got very, very low that evening. You know, my energy went really down. I feel like crying now because I just thought, you know, if they can see that I don't approve of them. You know, I just felt like this situation is just getting the better of me. You know, I'm too transparent. Like, I'm just too tired. I can't do it anymore.
Look, you have to give yourself permission to be a teenager. Teenagers are not at the level of spiritual wisdom. They have to have their growth phase of learning. You know, I say, I call them teenagers. When I get people in addiction and I help them come out, they go into their teenage phase and they just shout and they're angry and they've got their voice. And I don't like to say it's like a phase. You know, it's like a phase. They make a few mistakes and that's okay. Tell them, don't worry about it. You're allowed to make mistakes at this phase. You've got a mentor, so you'll be corrected. So don't relentlessly beat yourself up. You have to take this on board seriously. You're not allowed to attack yourself. You must forgive yourself immediately. It's not God's will that you attack yourself for making mistakes. It's all right to make mistakes as long as you're on the spiritual path and you're having guidance to go forward and be correctable. And everyone does have to make them. I have a mentor as well, you see, where I can discuss things with and get some reflection on my blind spots, you see, when I make mistakes. So there's nothing wrong with making mistakes, but that, you know, but you don't want to I've learned this one, beating yourself up, it has no use to anyone, it's actually counterproductive. So it's got to be like a number one rule. I will not engage in self-attack. You know, what's the opposite? You know, to learn from something with neutrality, to learn things constructively with their neutral attitude. Oh, what can I learn from this? That in a neutral way. But to go out, bad me, let me beat myself up. Oh, how bad I am. That you know, you must desist from that. Okay, it's an order. Okay.
I love that. Okay.
Because that's a common one. Because it comes out of the energy field of the punishing God and the guilt. The energy field, which is a part of the collective of the human consciousness. So we're all we are good for beating ourselves up and feeling guilty. Actually, it's the reverse is true. That's the God of punishment. And guilt and beating yourself up will make you a horrible person. Yeah. So it's actually there's no benefit to that, but it's just the ego's projection that God is a human that is happy if you beat yourself up and feel guilty. So actually God is of love. So a God of love wants you to get to being loving ASAP, meaning rule number one for certain people is do not beat yourself up. It's against God's will to attack yourself. Yes, learning is okay, but learning, like seeing a lesson and learning and changing your behavior in the future with compassion and neutrality is okay, but attacking yourself and saying how bad I am is not God's will. I'm happy to go to my graves having said that. I'm speaking for God, so you better be careful what you say. Yeah. But God wants you to get doesn't see beating yourself up. He'd probably like you to.
One person's opinion that and she, it's just one person's opinion. So why would I take that home and ruin my evening over it and then reduce my energy, have my more health problems just over one person's opinion?
Yeah.
Why would I like it, that? I need to just say that to myself. Well, okay, we'll have that back.
Yeah, you want to
learn from it a bit, but I obviously need to be a bit aloof and disapproving because it's authentic. There's an authenticness to it.
Yeah, there's an authenticity, and you're in a growth phase. You give yourself a break, but you must maintain your spiritual vibration. Do not allow dwelling in anger or self-attack is a very low vibration.
Yeah.
There's no difference between like mutilating yourself and mutilating another person. They're equally the energy field is the same. So there's no sort of like you're virtuous for attacking yourself or you're virtuous for feeling guilty. So you should be. It's okay to be in them for a short while you're processing them out, but there's no benefit in staying in those fields. So don't attack yourself. It's okay to transition. Cancel your beliefs around. You need to get their approval to be a good team player to survive. You just cancel that. Okay. Just you're cancelling the fear around it. So you want to get to a field of trust, and then you allow. You pray for wisdom. Pray for wisdom. Pray for divine wisdom. In how that you be at the beginning of the day, just pray for divine wisdom in how to deal with all situations that arise during the day, and that wisdom be given to you in each moment, so that the spiritual field can orchestrate to you and tune out. And I did that. I explained to you, like even without spirituality, I knew how to tune out of noisy environments. It's like we had an open plan office in the stock market, in the room I was working. I was the analyst, and there was the brokers shouting and screaming all around. I could just look at a piece of paper and tune out all of the noise, and it would just be me and the paper.
And you hadn't even started your spiritual.
No, I hadn't started. So you had to learn how to tune out of noise and just be in the work. You see, so it's actually not. I ever knew that without spiritual work. I was able to switch off the noise and just be immersed in my work that I was doing on the table. So you can do that, but if you have a belief that I need everyone in the office to know, then you won't be able to switch off.
Because I'm fear.
Because you're in fear. You have belief systems that I have to be alert to what that person is saying. I could 100% switch it all off and just be there and it'd be quiet and I'd be just working.
But also, isn't that the case, Sabbir, personally that's what I have found. For example, let's say we are kind of like, the fact that we are upset about it, that means there is some kind of a hook within ourselves. For example, with me and unfairness, the thing that was really getting to me, it was a minor thing that was really getting to me because I knew that was somehow within myself. That's something that within myself needed to be healed.
Yes.
Therefore, wouldn't be, to cancel the belief that, for example, in unfairness, or to cancel the belief in disapproving of myself. In this case, almost like you're disapproving yourself already and somebody else is reflecting that.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
That I'm disapproving of others. Because
no, you're disapproving yourself, you're disapproving, and therefore then somebody else is reflecting it back to you, and that's why it's really getting to you.
She's saying that I give off that I disapprove of others.
Right, yeah, but it's similar, it's the same, is it not?
But if you cancel the belief,
Yeah.
that would work as well, you see.
Yes,
Because
that,
it no longer exists in your consciousness.
or cancel the belief in general
Yes.
instead of saying cancel the belief of disapproving myself.
Yeah, that would work as well. Cancel my
maybe
belief in
both.
disapproving.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Because if you no longer hold that exists, it disappears.
Because I find it often, when I kind of really, or when something, something, I mean, for example, if somebody had said to me that, it wouldn't really, that kind of, I wouldn't get that, that hook on me. But if somebody was saying something, for example, that it would have really got me, so therefore it's something within myself, that it's almost like needs to be healed too.
Yeah, like it's a trigger thing.
Yeah, for example, with the situation I was saying earlier on about my colleague, it was quite interesting because, for example...
We're okay to be on... Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying anything.
Sure.
One of my colleagues, the other colleague that was observing what was happening with the colleague that I was telling earlier on, I don't want to repeat it, she was getting very angry and I was getting into the unfairness mode. So obviously I was getting into the unfairness mode. I was getting angry, but my main issue was unfairness. And I thought that's kind of interesting, that's obviously she was, that same event, I was hooking onto that thing and she was getting angry. So I think it's something, if it is not something, an issue within ourselves,
like maybe
then it wouldn't have been...
Yeah, unfairness might not have triggered me as much.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas that one, that would not have triggered me, okay?
Yeah.
If they were saying, it wouldn't have, no, it wouldn't have triggered me. So it's healing that part of ourselves in a way. In some ways, the way I see it, it's, we need to be grateful to these people as well, because almost like, she said something and revealed something within, that you can work on. You can cancel the
It's so
belief, or
funny.
you can, whatever it needs to, you need to do.
Yeah, like I've done a lot of spiritual work and then I almost feel like I've taken a step back into teenage. It's funny, isn't it? Like, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that seems quite sophisticated to my brain at the moment, whereas another time in the past I would really get that. But I think I have kind of...
No, you're making growth, but you need
Yeah.
to transcend.
Yeah.
You need to transcend. You're getting spiritual discernment, and you're more in the teenage energy of reacting to, like people have trodden over you, and now you're saying no. You're saying no, but you're saying no with anger. So, which is okay, and you allow yourself to be a teenager for a while, and but then there's a better way. There's a higher way than that as well. So you're going to integrate. You're going to have the best of your past, but you're going to have some new learnings as well with this new phase of. It's actually a chakra that you're going through. Spiritual development. It's the power chakra.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
It's the yellow one. I think it's the one here. It's
The solar plexus.
solar plexus. That's right. It's your power chakra.
That's where I am.
You're in the lessons of the power chakra, and there's the negative side of dealing with people with anger and stuff, and you wanna have authentic power and discernment. So you're just learning through those. Are like you're a teenager basically. It's okay. Don't allow yourself, like you wouldn't tell a child to be a grown up in one day. They're going to make mistakes, but you want to let go of all fear, because the feeling of trust and safety will look after you, and you want, because for you the trap is that you perceive the word love as being a doormat. So it's not love. It's like discernment. Discernment and maintaining your spiritual vibration, so to not dip into anger and judgment and grievance and resentment. You don't want to be in those energy fields for as little time as possible. Like a neutral field is good. Wisdom, discernment, strength, and also that you don't have to buy into group energy fields for your life, that your life is threatened. You want to cancel those beliefs. You just note your mental talk, like, if I don't listen, I'll be sacked. So that's your belief system, you see, because you have to know what your self-talk is, and that's your beliefs. So if you just keep saying to yourself, oh no, I better be listening because I'm going to lose my job.
Which is how I live. That is how I live.
Funny,
Yeah.
but big listening.
I tell you what, that is completely how I live. And I've got insomnia. My shoulder's ripped out. I was at the doctor today. I feel
I'm
ill.
so
I
sorry.
feel like I'm absolutely drained by it because I'm doing this for 7 hours a day. I'm living in that, what you just said. I have to keep listening in because if I don't, I'll be dead.
Yeah, that's that.
I'm drained.
I
I'm
relate.
completely drained.
Well, you would. You would.
Yeah.
And then
you
I
would.
can't come here on Saturdays, and then I go
Yeah.
to work, and then at the weekend I need to recover, and I get into a drainage of vampiric energy of everyone, and do you see, and I get into a vicious cycle of, well, I need to rest so that I can go in on Monday and be strong, and that's, you know. That's
Yeah, you want to let
really-
go of all these fear-based
Yes.
ideas, and then you want to get the energy field of trust, and that you'll be safe no matter what happens.
And protection,
Yeah.
because I don't feel particularly safe at the moment. I feel really vulnerable and exposed and going through a weird change. It's all new.
Yeah, you
I'm
remember.
elated that I've got here, but I don't know how to handle it.
Well, you remember your body goes weak in anger, so you want to stay in anger as little as possible because it'll blow out all your energy acupuncture meridians. You can do the thymic thump if you have little shocks at work. And because anger means you blow out your meridians, it tunes you into a field of angriness, and it has no.
I must be angry then, even when I don't.
Judgment is
really-
anger. Judgment is
Yeah.
the field of anger. How could you be so
Yeah.
so wrong?
Mindless.
That's judgment. It is a kind of anger. You see, it's
It
not.
is.
It's not. It's not.
It is.
What I was
I'm
telling
not
you.
like. I'm
Yeah.
not, but I do go around
Yeah.
going like, "Are you seriously going to talk about that for 30 minutes?" That's how I.
You,
Are you not doing your work? Because are there not children out there being abused? You're supposed to be running a panel. Why are you talking about your weekend? Like
Okay.
that, it's that level.
Yeah.
And it's very judgmental.
Yeah.
Even if I'm kind of right.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I
well-
know what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It is really.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a really that you can get a high and righteous judgment.
Yes.
It's righteous.
A righteous
Yeah.
judgment. You can get off on that one. That's a cause for extended anger for long periods of time.
I've been in that for 3 years. All the time I've been in that job because
Well,
nobody works like
yeah.
most people are not really interested. I thought they would be, but they're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
That's the
interested
same in
the
my
job.
job.
I'm really
That's all
shocked.
come
I
around.
had no idea. I thought
Yeah.
they'd be absolutely passionate and vocational
Yeah.
like I am, but they're not.
No. Eventually you'll become very ill if you keep that level of anger and judgment. up.
Yeah.
And
It's not a good.
so you want to also, what really helped me was advanced spiritual teachers and their view on what the world is. This is not a world of saints.
Yes.
I was not deposited into heaven.
Yeah, I haven't got Krishnamurti on my left, Hawkins on my right, Mooji over there. Yeah.
No, it's not. I mean, this
No.
is not the purpose. I mean, as I understand it, the purpose of this world is for spiritual growth
Yes.
and transcendence. So everyone is not supposed to be a saint, and in fact the people that are showing up are perfect for me. I mean, it's like I may leave as a saint and join heaven, and then everyone's going to be a saint. You can leave your wallet on the table and it'll still be there afterwards. You see. So I'm supposed to meet people here who are in non-integrity. That's part of the deal.
Yes.
They're supposed to exist here. It's not that they're wrong or they're right or they're bad or they're evil, but they're supposed to be here. They have a part to play for all of us. And you can, when you start to get spiritual wisdom, you see that they're supposed to be there, and you don't judge it.
And you don't resist it.
You don't resist it, but I mean you're aware of what it is, but it's part of this world, and judgment of it is naivety. You see, there's supposed to be axe murderers running around in this place. They should exist. It's part of the package of this world. Otherwise, this world wouldn't be it wouldn't be a world of transcendence. If everyone,
the real truth is that, sorry to cut you there,
Yeah.
Sabbir, but I just realised that the reason why the people chat so much is that they are very intelligent and they're very good at their jobs. When they put their mind to it, they can knock out this work quickly. They can afford to take an hour off and talk about their kids.
Wow.
They are bright people, they're very bright.
Yeah.
So can't I give them a little bit of credit that they're bright enough that they can talk for 50% of the day and still deliver the goods? I can't.
Well, that's a much more positive frame. You get into
Yes.
gratitude now.
They're really
It's
bright.
on,
They are.
Like to admire someone.
Yes.
I do admire them. I mean, they're really
Yeah.
intelligent people, particularly now with my new team. They are intelligent, and maybe that's why they can afford to chat half the day. I can't.
Well, you see, you're already going to a higher vibration. I can tell. You see.
Yeah.
You see how lovely these people are. They're
They are intelligent.
they can do in 10 minutes what many people take an hour to do.
Yeah.
And so they're not really skiving. They're just super productive in short periods.
Yeah.
They work smarter.
I mean, listening to them talk about non-related work things, they are very, very knowledgeable around the world about all kinds of things in ways I wouldn't be interested or have. But they really know that they get it right every time. They know exactly who's in power, what's going on in the government. They're not mugs. They're muggles, but they're not mugs.
Well, you see, you're seeing it differently. You're seeing it through a spiritual filter. So eventually, you see that they're good, and when you see there's no resentment to it, you lose your hooks.
Yeah.
It's like it's interesting they're intelligent for a while, but it's not a survival thing, and then you won't hear them. And if you see it in that way, you can probably let the hook go. Well, they are doing their job, and it's none of my business what they do if they'd have a little bit
They're
of
not
a
in
chat.
trouble with their bosses. Their bosses like them, and they are successful, and they're on a good scale, and no one's got a problem with them except me.
Yeah. So see, you're seeing it differently, which is great.
Yeah.
And then your survival, let go of your survival is based on being, these fear-based beliefs are not useful. Why? Because it's the field of trust, the energy field of trust that takes care of you, not the belief that you must be in constant vigilance and fear of being a team player. That actually does not protect you. It probably leads to ill health and being cranky.
Yeah.
So you can let the beliefs go, because the field of trust, being in a spiritual vibration of trust and all will be well, is what really looks after you. That's God's grace. But the negative fear beliefs actually don't look after you. They actually, they say, like, if you could believe that stronger, you'd get more ill. Basically, that's all that would happen, because you get more vigilant, you get more disconnected, get more irritated, and then you'd be taking time off because you're too ill.
Yeah.
So it has the opposite effect. So you can let go of the belief and get the energy field of trust. I know that I know from years, and I think you know this as well, when you have that field of trust, you're always taken care of. Everything synchronistically, miraculously unfolds because you're in that field of absolute trust.
And since I stepped into the teenager thing, I think I've just stepped out of the trust. I think simultaneously, I've had this great revelation. Yeah. But I've stepped out of it. Yeah.
You're having to integrate both learnings at the same time, because
and it's complicated.
You had what I call naive love spirituality up until now, and now the universe is forcing you to grow through what I call discerned love, with the capacity for tough love as well. And wisdom in differentiating how to deal with people. So naive love is like, I love everybody.
I'm going to go and hug the axe.
I'm going to hug the axe.
He's God's child, just like everyone else.
Exactly.
And then feeling guilty and beating yourself up because you felt angry because he wasn't very nice.
So you cut my head off.
Your head off.
Yeah.
So it's like, so you've got to.
I was hugging him. He was like.
You're gonna. You're integrating teenagers. Like you keep the best of the old you. Keep the best of the old you. But also learn spiritual discernment and toughness.
And then give myself a little bit of time to integrate them.
You also want to allow yourself a teenage phase. Like it's just not. You wouldn't say to someone, "Okay, spiritual perfection is like to be loving and have absolute spiritual wisdom and know when to be tough and when not to be tough by tomorrow. That's not going to, I mean, that you're going to beat yourself up relentlessly, which is not productive. So you have to like, you get the distinctions, and you have to have the learning opportunities
that's why I'm there.
to let go of the hooks and to have the beliefs.
That's why I've been put in that job.
Yes, it's a growth phase. The universe is forcing you to go through this growth phase from naive love. You're now being beaten up, but you're reacting a bit like a teenager, and which is okay. That's natural. Don't beat yourself up, and give yourself a bit of grace while you do on the learning curve. But then you want to maintain your spiritual energy vibration, and you want to know who you're dealing with. It's safe to unhook and not be in fear, and it's okay to let go of vigilance as long as you have the energy field of trust and safety. And then as you get to these fields, you'll start to see your colleagues very differently, which is already happening today. You have these more spiritual thoughts of how you can let it go and not be hooked in. You see, and then your health will improve, and then you'll have the best of both worlds. You'll now be spiritually wise and discern and have spiritual strength, and have the capacity to be loving as well.
And I'll accept not everyone went on that media weekend, and not everyone, dropped the media and their childhood and their past, and as not everyone has just given up on the world. Not everyone has let go of the world.
No.
Like, I know that you have, because I can see it in you. You've let go of it. I know you have.
Yes.
I can see it in you.
Yes.
I know you have. I'm in that vein. So not everyone has.
Well,
and
no.
In fact, hardly anyone has.
Well, that's the truth.
And I need to just say, well, fine.
Yes, absolutely. If you're in a world of toddlers, then that's okay.
Toddlers.
They're in dreamland. You see, they're in the world of toddlers.
Now we're getting somewhere.
99.
I was right.
Yeah, it's about 99.999% are in dreamland. And a lot of
That's my experience. They are the sleeping ones.
There's a tiny minority. You have to go to groups like this to have a very tiny minority in London.
Like, I can see you. It's all gone. Like, it's like nothing there. It's better. The more you go into the field of trust, like I'm saying, the field of trust, then people placed in situations will align and keep you safe. So it's like the energy field will enable, like, you just to live in spiritual communities. It just, as you stay in that trust, you like that field of love pulls you out of those horrible vibrations, and you just have different lessons, along the way. And it's okay to just say they're toddlers. Let them be.
Toddlers are fine. I mean, I don't want to spend too long with them, but they're okay.
Hours.
They're okay. On the tube it's okay. I don't. If I had to, if someone came to a spiritual group, then I've mentioned that I'd have to transcend that. But I've seen miracles happen.
Yeah.
Like either they leave the group, or else I become friends with them. Something usually happens because so that's fine. But actively wanting to be in a low energy environment, for me that wouldn't happen. If you keep going to higher spiritual energies, that they will be taken away from you. Like there were friends I used to know which I no longer speak to.
You said earlier you can't tolerate.
It's just natural. I
Just
mean, they talk in the language of like gossip and football and all. I mean, there's nothing for me to say to them. There's nothing for them to say to me. I mean,
that's what I'm dealing with at work. I've got nothing to say.
But actually what I do, I get involved into what they're interested in. For example, now, example, some of them have kids, so I get kind of interested in how their kids, and they tell me about their kids, And,
no, I do that. I mean, I have to, otherwise I get blacklisted. I join in, like, oh my God, like if you didn't, I have to do it at least 30 minutes a day, otherwise you'd literally be on the street. So I can do it, but
she was 30 minutes, she times herself. The 30 minutes is up.
I time them, and I just say, you just done an hour talking about the typhoons in China, or you just done an hour talking about...
Really? Oh, is that what you tell them?
No,
Oh, you actually- I thought so.
I
Oh my God.
time it. I watch what they do in disbelief.
No wonder you're exhausted. And are you?
Oh, I see.
Is it like survival? Is survival keeping your job, isn't it? Is what so much fear? Is in there's so much fear that must be in you.
Yeah.
You want to fit in because you're going to lose your job and die. Yes, and
Yeah,
and you've
I think it's part maybe losing the job, and I don't have any sort of relatives or backup or anything. It's just me and a teenager in a flat. That's it, full stop.
Mm.
And I think it's secondly, I don't like not fitting in and being different.
Mm.
And I think that when I get like that, I go into shame.
Mm.
all right. You want to cancel your belief that you're
Yes.
different. I cancel my belief I'm different. I'm an infinite being
Yes.
subject only to what I hold in mind.
Yeah.
I cancel my belief there's no backup in the world. I'm an
I tell
infinite being.
myself that far too often. Like I don't have extended family.
Mm.
Really, God is your extended family.
Yeah,
That's
because
what I'm
you said
saying.
that he's your granddad.
He's my granddad. That is my granddad.
Yeah.
You know,
And
magically he
deep down.
appeared behind me. I didn't put him there. He just his face just appeared.
Yeah.
That's
He's
true.
obviously my granddad too.
He is my granddad. I could see. I understood why he was there.
Yeah.
He's in all the videos.
Is he, oh, really?
Yeah. And most people can
He's
spot
always
it.
there, isn't he?
Granddad. So granddad's there.
So you-
And in the field of work that I'm in, it's around children and families, and pretty much it attracts people in families. It's very family-ish.
right.
Right.
It's very healthy. It's very good like that. So pretty much everyone's got. They're always talking about cousins, nephews, nieces, barbecues, dinners, grands, uncles, brother-in-laws,
right, I see.
sister-in-laws,
Okay.
and I've got nothing. I do have sisters
Yeah.
and whatever, but whatever. I've got very
Yeah.
little to contribute. So I feel
You feel like odd or left out or something.
like I'm inadequate. Like we're just me and a kid in a flat. Like
Oh,
we don't have the extended family. Like,
Yeah.
Well, this is just your self-talk. This
Yes,
is not what's
it
going on
is,
there.
yeah.
So I cancel my belief. I haven't got
Exactly.
anything to talk about.
But if you met my son, you would know he's worth 100 relatives. He's phenomenal,
Yeah.
beautiful guy.
Exactly.
I love him. He's a
Exactly.
beautiful person. Having a conversation with him is so interesting, even for 5 minutes.
Yes.
He's different. He's completely.
Mm.
He's
Mm.
completely different. He
Mm.
works in an office now as well, and he's sorting all of them out. He's really an interesting, original, unique person that I respect a lot. He
Oh.
doesn't do this muggle stuff.
Well, the muggle. I mean, what's wrong with muggles? What's wrong with
I
muggles?
don't even know what Mongol is.
Yeah.
Oh, did you miss the muggle memo? We said that muggles is everybody that's just sleeping and not in spirituality. I think it comes from Harry Potter.
Oh, I see. I haven't read
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, one day.
Right. I would not have been popular in my office now,
The
knowing
Muggles.
the Mongols are.
I don't even know Harry Potter, but I love that word. It's anyone who is asleep, and their world is
Anyone who is asleep.
they're going to
Yeah.
Mexico for holiday. They've got their cousins are coming. They're meeting them on the flight. They've got their brother down the road. Their sister does the babysitting. They get a lot of support looking after their kids. And at Christmas they're doing that. Blah, blah, blah. That's it, and that's it. And then they support QPR, and that's it. And that's the end. That's it.
But how do you know that that's completely the end?
Because
You
I'm
know, that they
completely
might
in
not-
charge of it.
They might be interested in the things that you are, and then they're
Well, I
just
spoke
not
about
showing.
I spoke about.
I mean, you don't know.
I spoke about a few things this week just to see, and I
Okay.
did go to a Buddhist meditation, and I spoke a bit about that, and I spoke about the whirling dervishes just to see, and yeah, they were okay about it, but they dismissed it. They said, "Oh well, I can really see why."
What about mindfulness? Just mention
Yeah.
this is the in thing.
They actually enraged me because they said, one of them said, "Oh well, obviously you went to meditation because you want to de-stress," and then I was telling them what the monk was talking about. The monk was talking about how much stress there is in the world, and he talked a lot about the problems of the world. So I was saying that, and she said, "Oh well, obviously you went there to de-stress," and I felt like saying, "Actually, I went there for enlightenment." Don't tell me.
I don't think you should have
teenager now, don't you? You can tell me why
I can imagine me telling that in the office. I just got there for a night.
But it's an assumption.
They would just look at me.
It's an assumption.
Yes.
She made an assumption.
Yeah.
Like, don't make assumptions about me. I
Yeah.
don't make assumptions about you. Maybe I do.
That's
Yes.
teenage. That's teenage.
I'm really.
But we all do. We all make assumptions, actually. It is part of the human, part of living in duality. I think we do.
Well, in fact, I'm doing it for 7 hours a day with them, aren't I? But I like to cast them in the enemy role.
Well,
I'm like the princess here.
Well, the Muggles, you know, the Muggles, this, you know, they're supposed to be in this world, Muggles, and
Yes.
you want to have you're going to learn wisdom and not attaching and hooking into them, and trusting all will be well for you. Eventually, you know, as you start to see them differently, it's actually you lose a lot of the judgment and the anger, and actually, well, that sounds like, you know, a lot of the times I'll let things go.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, I don't need to be the one in the world to bring them to justice.
But I'm in teenage mode at the moment.
That's okay.
That's not going to happen. I'm not letting anyone away with anything at the moment.
I think,
all about the fight.
I think it was one of my,
Because
know.
I've been a doormat for 50 years and I've just had a miracle.
I can understand.
It's a lot of years being a doormat.
Yeah.
I only just found my power.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking
No.
1 inch from anyone. You should have seen me with my sister last weekend.
Yeah.
I just kept going back at her every single thing, and she was getting more and more enraged. Like, don't speak to me like that. Except I didn't say don't speak to me like that. I just challenged every single thing. Like, you don't get to talk to me like that. And before, I used to just suck it up, go home, meditate and be spiritual and think I'm above all these people, these low people. I'm so high, I'm so meditative, I'm so above it all. But now I'm not doing that.
it's okay. It's a burp. It's a burp at the teenage phase.
that's
You know,
all right.
they have to do it. You know, they just have to
That's
shout
all
for a
right.
little while.
Yeah, that's okay.
And I've actually seen it in other people.
I think it's going to go on for a while.
I get, you know, sometimes when I'm working with spiritual people, you know, the ones who never say anything, and you start to do spiritual work with them, they at a certain phase, I know they'll turn into a teenager. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they get angry at everyone, including me,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because they're really, really angry. And then
Yeah.
you teach them how to spiritually transcend that phase. So it is a phase that they go through. And it is, on a certain level, it's healthy because they have to go through it to just experience it for a little while.
I have to experience my own strength because I didn't have it before. Like, and I love feeling it in my own body.
I sort of see it more like it's a pent up thing. It's a pent up energy.
Yes.
Like I've been secretly angry for years and years and years, and now I'm going to let everyone have it. You know?
Yeah.
So
They just have to do one thing wrong, and I'm coming after them.
You're burping out. You're burping out. the
Coming
anger.
after.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
burping.
the tiniest little things. Like, I was walking with a friend yesterday. She didn't like the way I was crossing the road, so she grabbed my arm and and I felt like saying, "Don't you tell me how to cross the road." And I went home and I thought, I don't want to see her again. How dare she tell me
How to cross?
you cross the road how you want to cross it, and I'll cross it out like.
That's the energy field of anger.
Yes,
That's the energy
very
field.
well
Okay, I'm having
done.
fun.
That is.
It's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
It
It's
felt
fine.
really good. Like,
Yeah.
but I really mean that. Don't tell me how to cross the road. I want to get into a space where no one is going to speak to me like that. I don't tell other people how to cross the road.
No, it's normal.
I
It's
don't
normal.
grab them and say, "Oh wait," she was grabbing on. Like, she's scared of Deliveroo, a little weedy. I'm not scared of them. I walk out. I tackle them. Like, I give as good as I get. If she wants to do it her way. So I went home and I thought,
Interesting, yeah.
You're out, mate.
It's okay.
Another one bites the dust.
Yeah, you feel the power of anger and intimidating others. It's
No, I don't want to intimidate her. I just didn't want her to control me. No, I had no interest in intimidating her at all. But I won't be controlled anymore.
okay.
Even to cross don't tell me how to cross the road, because that's trying to control me.
That's yeah. It is. I mean, everyone. That's the existence. Everyone's trying to control or get some response. It's the human thing usually. But
I don't believe that I do that to other people, and I want to be treated in the way with the levels of respect that I believe I give to other people. I believe I do.
well, that's a certain level of consciousness. You must treat me with respect to a certain level of consciousness. Otherwise, I'm going to be angry. So it's okay. It can be an integrous energy, but it's not the highest energy necessarily, which is okay. For a teenager, it's fine.
It felt quite high coming from where I'm coming from, because before I used to eat that stuff up and let them tell me how to cross the road.
Well, that's true.
I didn't want to fall out.
Yeah.
It felt fantastic.
It's a high energy field. It's not the highest energy field.
Maybe you were coming before from kind of a self
Denial.
no denial, you wanted to please others. You were
Totally.
doing
You're more from
to
fear.
please
I think
others,
it's more
and
of fear energy.
Fear,
Well,
in case you don't please them.
I had a
So obviously-
complete doormat energy.
Right.
Every day for 50 years, so that's 365 times 50. I don't know what the maths is, but that's a hell of a
Okay,
lot of
you've
time.
gone from fear
Yes.
to anger.
Yes.
Anger is a higher vibration. It's still not the
Yeah.
highest vibration.
But can I hang around here for a few
You can,
weeks?
you can. I think
I think I like it.
actually, yeah, no,
For a
normally.
few weeks.
Well, they
So
do.
What is your permission? How long are you
How long
giving
No, I
it?
can tell you
How
what
long
my-
can I be a tea?
I don't recommend, but I remember working with people who get to the angry phase, and it usually is like a few months, but
Yeah.
but
That's
because
realistic.
they're I mean that's kind of like what I've experienced with you. It doesn't usually go that quickly because they're having to process quite a lot, and they're finally having the voice to sort of say, and there's quite a lot of stuff going on. But I don't encourage it. I mean, I'll get through it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Because anger is still not a positive energy field for the health of your body, and for the vibration. It does. In my experience, it doesn't go that quickly. But you don't want to dwell in it for any longer than possible.
That really sounds correct.
It's quite interesting in that example, sorry, Sabbir.
Yeah, go.
In that example, you're saying, I would have found it quite caring that my friend is pulling me along. My interpretation would have been, oh, that's so sweet, she's caring for me, so she wanted it.
No, but I know her, and
Right.
she's got fear of these little deliveries.
Right.
So now we're both going to cross the road according to her terms. And
Right.
I'm sick of people setting the terms.
No, I can see
And I'm
what-
sick
yeah,
of being
you're
sick of being controlled because I've been so accommodating, codependent, people pleasing. I've had a vast disease running through my veins every day of my life, where I'm always like the tall poppy, the tall poppy that shrinks to not.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And I've always bowed my light and dimmed myself, and like I've got 3 like incredibly jealous sisters. I can't even get into that one, but they've been on the attack all my life, and they're just really 2 of them like just really and I've always let them have it. I've always let them have it. We've always done things their way, and I've always been like the Cinderella in the cellar, that's how it's been, and I've always let them have it. And last week I went to lunch with one of them, and I didn't let her have it.
No,
That's
I
okay.
can
She's been a
see where
teenager
you're
for a
coming
while.
from. I can see where
it is higher than fear.
I can tell.
I've got a very,
I can
very
definitely see where
bullying,
you're coming
aggressive
from.
family,
Yeah.
very dysfunctional, a bit like Eamon was saying, Irish, just really, I am the scapegoat of my family, I'm the whipping boy, I'm the nothing, which complicated because I've got a degree and they're jealous, it's just all a big mess. But the way that I've dealt with it in my family is to sponge up everyone's toxicity and be the peacemaker. And I'm the only one that's got a relationship with everyone because I get on with everyone. But now I realise it was false.
Yeah, you want to. I mean, in the family situation and in friendship situation, you can be angry with little consequences. In the work situation, you want to council believes get to trust, because
Yeah.
obviously if you tell the managers what you think of them, it might not
Yeah.
always go immediately
Exactly.
well.
Yes.
But there's ways of, you're energetically processing these environments. As you energetically process them, automatically you'll be different. And what was being said here, at different vibrations, you see the motives of different people very differently. As you get to the higher vibrations, either you see that people are trying to be caring, or that they can't help being the way they are. And they're utilising, like...
I can't help being the way I am, and I'm going to refuse to be controlled.
That's okay. I understand that
You
energy
should be
thing.
glad that you've created a monster here, because this is...
It's not a monster, it's a teenager.
You've created
It's very, very important to me that no one dictates any terms around me now. And I don't care if it's 1 foot of step on the road. It's very important to me. I won't be controlled anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had it. I'm done.
That's okay.
And
That's
she,
okay at
she
this
when,
stage.
when she did that with the road, I didn't feel she was in my best interest. I felt that she was controlling me, because I know how to cross the road. I'm a road user. I'm doing fine without her. It's respectful to just treat me like an adult.
You can beat up some pillows as well. Stick some posters of some people.
That's
on
it,
pillows.
yes.
Just assassinate the pillows.
I didn't realise I was angry till I've come here today.
You want to get the anger out.
Because you
Yeah.
said, Hawkins says, there's this vat of repressed emotion.
You're in the repressed emotion, and you
Yes.
have to give yourself leeway for being
Yeah.
in that field. And it does take a while for it. You're probably going to be angry for a little while, and you've got to get these thoughts, and you might be a bit, like you're saying now. You won't accept anything. You're going to put people in their place straight away if they try to control you, and that's a phase.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't see anything wrong with that. It is higher than fear. If you've been afraid to say anything, now you're in the angry phase. It's like that anger that's been repressed is now pushing. You're in the teenage phase.
It feels much more powerful than before. It feels like for me, it feels like
no,
great progress.
Yeah, from fear it is, but it's still anger is still a destructive energy, but less destructive, more powerful than fear.
Yeah.
But it's still not yet into neutrality and spiritual. So, but it's natural for it to be burped out. You're
I have to
burping.
let it burp out. You can't fast track me. I have to just do
You're
this.
burping. You're burping now. We'll get a punch bag for you next week. we'll get a little punch bag, and you can punch the ball as
You
well.
cannot fast track me.
Don't try and control me anymore.
Sabbir's controlling you. He wants to fast track you.
Oh, if it works, then I'll go along with it. But, in fact, you're the only person I don't mind controlling me. Like everyone else, the muggles are done. They don't come near me. I'm not going to tolerate one inch of them.
You're burping up your anger at the moment.
Yes.
It's okay. It's coming. You're in the field of anger.
Yeah.
It's more powerful than fear. So you feel the power of the
I
anger.
didn't even know that about that. I had no idea. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
You're being orchestrated by the field of anger. It feels more empowering. Don't you dare try and tell me how to cross the road.
Yeah.
Don't you know who I am?
Do you know who I am? I've been crossing the road for 50 years.
Yeah, and I mean it. The thing that I lost and I found is my self-worth, and I mean that. I am valuable. Don't you know who we're talking to? And it doesn't feel like ego. It just feels like somebody that just thought of themselves as just nothing. And
It's high. You're on a higher vibration.
Yeah.
You're on a higher vibration.
Yeah.
And it's natural for it to be there for a little while. And
you just have to put up with me, folks.
no, it's quite funny.
You
It's quite funny.
Is it? It must be. Yeah.
What did you say? Funny?
It's quite funny.
It's quite entertaining.
It's quite entertaining.
Is it funny?
I think it's quite funny. I understand.
I understand.
When you're in that
I
field of
understand.
anger,
I don't.
and if you've been repressing yourself
Yeah.
with fear all the time, and you're suddenly angry, you go out and you tell everybody, what you think of them.
But you saw me just weeks ago, and I said, everyone, I've been dismissed all my life. And the difference between that person and now is the change, you know. I'm
It's a
not
stage. It's a stage.
And I'm not letting anyone dismiss me either. If they dismiss me, they're gone. So if they dismiss me, they're not welcome in my field.
Okay, and so as you speak now, what are you speaking as? Are you angry now?
No.
You're not angry.
I feel really strong right now. Personally, if you tell me I'm angry, then I'll hear what you say, but from the inside I feel strong, confident, I like myself, I love myself, I'm fair to all other beings in my behaviours to them, and I want the same back, and if I don't get it, then I'll let those, I won't.
When you speak, what are you speaking from? Who's speaking all of this stuff right now?
The lost little girl.
Okay, so there's a there's a lost
little girl.
I can hear that. Yeah.
okay, there's a lost little girl. How are you experiencing yourself as a lost little girl right now, experientially?
I just feel like I've got like fire in my belly, like strength in my body, whereas before, when I sat with you before and I told you weeks ago that I've been dismissed all my life, it felt like I wasn't in my body, there was a shell.
Yeah.
Now, I've moved in, I live here now.
Okay, so if there's fire in the body, there's fire in the body now, there's
now
connection
that
of
the home has been, the fire's been turned on, someone lives in here now, I'm inhabiting it. I don't know if you can understand that.
Yeah.
Because I was invisible before. I didn't exist because I was raised by a narcissist who told me you're nothing, you're nothing. And I tried to get to university and show him, because he loved academia, look, I'm something, I've got a French degree, no one in the family got a degree but me, out of 5 of us. And he still said, oh, you only got a lower second, you're nothing, you know, so it doesn't matter. Then I tried to get a career in PR, you're nothing, you're nothing. So I, from going from nothing, I now embody myself.
Okay.
If you can understand that.
Yeah, I understand.
So would you be willing to go to the observer of all of this?
Okay.
Well, what do I mean? It just means like, if there's fire in the belly, that's an object, like a mug. You know, like,
Okay.
you know, this is a mug. You're observing this mug, aren't you?
I'm seeing a little girl who is
Okay.
shouting out her voice, and I'm really, really happy for her.
Okay. But
Like
can
the
you?
observer is saying, is watching this girl shouting out to the world, saying, "I'm here now."
Okay, so the observer is happy for the girl. Is that what you're saying? Okay. And is there another observer which is watching that observer?
That's a more mature person.
Okay. And okay, so there's a mature observer. Okay. And is there? And what's the experience of the mature when you're when being the mature observer? What's the experience?
I think it's looking on it all with a lot of understanding and saying,
Okay, well, you said I think. Yeah, you said I think. So is there something here which is observing the thinking and the fire in the belly? Yeah, and is there something here which observes the thinking, which is observing all thinking and is not interested in thinking?
yeah.
Okay. So what's the experience in this place of observing where there's not even any interest in thinking?
That's just a nice, expansive, huge space.
Okay, so there's a nice, expansive, huge space. Now, it was said in the third person as if that was that. Are you that, or are you not that?
I think I'm the other two.
Okay. So can you drop for the moment the attachment to the other two and be the expansive
It's kind of hard
space?
to drop it because I kind of like it, but I'll try and drop it.
You can take it back later on.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't really want to drop it because I feel like I've just found it. I don't want to drop it, but I'll drop it for a minute. Like I'm scared to go into some wise space and then be a doormat again.
Okay, well that's a thought. You can drop that thought for a minute.
Okay. Yeah, well, there's no drama here.
Is that disappointing?
It's quiet. I don't know if this is just a thought, but it feels like if I relax into this, I might lose something.
Do you trust me? Go, let it go. Go into the peace.
Okay.
You have permission to take it back later on, but for now anyway, let it go. And what's the, is there any experiencing any drama or any heat or anything going on now?
Total stillness.
Is this stillness, is there any problem with the stillness?
No, it's a nothingness. Peace.
Okay, so you don't have to speak, you don't have to answer if it's going to take you out of peace. Stay in peace. But does peace know how to handle work? You can nod if you don't have to even have to speak. Is there wisdom in peace? Can peace be threatened with fear or by what other people say?
No.
Do you feel safe in peace?
100%.
Will you be taken care of if you stay in peace?
Yeah.
Is peace a doormat?
Maybe.
What can threaten this peace? Tell me. The doormat can threaten the peace. The doormat is a different energy to peace. The doormat is fear. The doormat comes from fear, not peace. Peace is actually fearless. But being nice in order to keep safe,
Yeah.
or acting spiritual in order to keep safe is not peace. It's actually a field which is a protection, but it's actually not peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
See the difference.
so peace is actually the absence of fear, and has its own protections. And actually, if you start to allow your wisdom to be with peace, it's actually infinitely more higher than this. So, what's the current experience now? What's the current reading?
There's a resistance to going to peace because I can't afford the doormat anymore.
Well, I'm not asking you to be a doormat. I'm just asking you to let go.
But if I stay in the child and the person watching,
Well, you can
the
drop.
observer watching the child, then I feel that at least I can keep the doormat out and stop that forever. If I go into peace, I'm scared that I'll be a doormat.
Well, peace is the unknown. So surrender is always the unknown.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be in vigilance all the time to defend yourself, you're not going to be in peace.
Yeah.
But you can pick up everything later on. Surely you can do it for a little while, can't you?
Okay.
You can drop everything.
Yeah.
yeah, and find out if it's really scary, and then you can pick up all your positions again.
They're my toys.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, so you can do that. You can pick it all up later on.
That's what I play
Does that
with
sound
my
like a good
toys.
deal? You can pick up your toys afterwards.
Yeah, I like these toys.
Well, it's very easy to pick up toys, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
It's harder to drop them, easier to pick them up again. So that should reassure you.
Okay.
So what's the experience now?
So letting go.
Okay, good.
Some relief. Like rest. And exhaustion.
Yes. So what's the experience now? Exhaustion?
I'm aware of the exhaustion in my body.
Yeah, good, well done. So there's something that's watching the exhaustion which is not exhausted. Good.
Yeah.
So which one are you? Are you the exhaustion or the observing of the exhaustion?
Yeah, I'm outside it.
Good. Is there any problems here?
Not one.
Is there fear of work? Yeah?
No.
Will all be okay?
Yes. So everything's just gone still.
Good. Well, probably the best thing for you is to you need a rest. You need the stillness. You just rest in stillness. It will rejuvenate you. Your body will heal. It's an energy field where everything will start to come into alignment. This is what you really need. You need some stillness. You need a holiday from your head.
And so I went to a meditation class and they teach you to count to 10 and follow your breath. And that felt exhausting as well, whereas we're here with you. I don't seem to
Yeah.
have to do all that to stop the thoughts. I just don't have any thoughts. And when I come here previously, there's just this tumbleweed. I don't have to do the 1 to 10 and I don't have to count the breathing. I just go into nothingness.
So, yeah, and there's this field of rejuvenation, energy, alignment. It's actually, stillness is the absence, the total absence of fear. The thing that you have to understand is different, is being nice out of fear
Yeah.
in order that everyone likes you.
Yeah.
And then now you're angry, which is a higher energy.
Yeah.
But that is not stillness. That's not peace. That's not invincibility. Stillness is invincibility. There's nothing that can harm you.
So I want to be out of the previous, and I want to be doing this. And if I go into peace, I'm scared that I'll miss it and I'll fall back. Like, it's really important that I go through this.
Yeah, you can go through that if you want to.
Yeah, like.
But it's not used to go.
Don't hang on.
You don't have to be in anger at home.
Yeah, I do, because I don't have a holiday from my head. Like.
You want to keep. I understand. You're so scared to go back that you want to be angry all the time.
That's right.
I understand
right.
the teenage phase.
That's right. That's
But if you
exactly right.
if you start to get, I'm trying to jump you into
Yeah.
infinite trust.
Yeah, I think I can take the jump actually, because I think I can take it. I think I've had I've taken my toys out and shown you them all, but yeah, there is a more mature person in there. I think I can fast track this a bit.
If you once you start to get those energies, you'll get new revelation and new vision on the situation, and you have the capacity to jump. you see.
I do,
Like,
because I've just had a jump. I mean, like,
Yeah.
what just happened to me is huge.
I mean, generally, normal people would take 2 or 3 months, but if you're able to jump, you can.
Yeah.
Once you have the energy
Yeah.
vibration imprint in you that you know that that's a better energy than anger,
Yeah.
then you'll want to be in the higher vibration.
It seems like the only time I can go into the peace is here. I don't appear to be able to do it anywhere
Well,
else.
spiritual groups usually tend
Yeah.
to facilitate the peace. That's
Mm.
true. I mean, a work environment usually isn't the same
Yeah.
as a spiritual group facilitating peace.
But I've tried the meditation, and that seems like a bit of a battleground because you have to count your breaths.
Start shaking, Vanessa.
Oh yeah, that might be the one. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
go for it.
Okay, I will. I'm going to shake tomorrow. Just so
Yeah,
you know,
just-
tomorrow I'll be shaking.
Just do that and do it as quickly as you can, just to
Yeah.
get your mind out into the space of not thinking and
That is
just
gonna
work
be
with your body.
So fast tracking.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that's going to be.
Yeah.
I also had this idea of shaking with tape on my mouth.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where it
Are
came
you
from.
taping this?
Yeah, I'm taping. They won't understand
Oh
the
my
joke.
God, please! You've got this on tape. Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic.
They won't understand the joke.
The
but I
tape thing
can-
is great because maybe I'll tell you about this.
Yes!
It's too late for me now. But I'll tell you about another day. But all I can say is
Right.
just close your mouth as much as you can.
I have listened to this guy,
Oh, you know it?
just before, before
Say so.
Sabbir told me, funny enough, kind of a couple of months before that I came across to this, and in fact I suggested a friend of mine who's called Asthma to listen to it.
Yeah.
But when he came, it was the Irish guy talking, giving the talk, was saying Sabbir when he came to the point talking about the taping. I thought, oh, this is rubbish.
Yeah, but it's a bit like Ratu.
I know.
It's nuts.
It is nuts.
But
Yeah,
you should see me. I take my mouth every night.
You do? It's on camera. Huh?
I tape it every night.
Really? Oh wow.
It's been fantastic.
It has been
It's
fantastic.
been part of the reason that I've gone on this spiritual journey because it settled all my chakras and it's
Ah.
brought a maturity because it stops me from hyperventilating because most of us are apparently taking in too much oxygen. That inhibits the absorption of CO2 and it keeps us in quite a childlike, irritated, low level, prone to addiction state because we're taking in too much O2. So after about a couple of weeks of taping
How can
myself,
we be taking too much oxygen?
because the mouth wasn't designed as a breathing tool.
No.
The nose is for
Yeah.
that. It has the filtering. The mouth is very large and it's not meant for breathing. So when we gasp and we open our mouths, or even when we yawn, open
Yeah.
mouth, we're taking this huge amount of oxygen. That
Yeah.
messes up the balance of CO2 and oxygen in our bodies, which means that the CO2 can't get into all the organs. It can't get to the brain. And once I started taping my mouth at night, I started thinking more clearly,
Really?
concentrating better.
Really?
Yeah, and then if I had like cravings and childlike mannerisms, and
Yeah.
all I can say is it brought a maturity into me.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't have those cravings, and it's been wonderful. Really, really
Really?
wonderful. Yeah, and I saw someone today on a bike with a mask, and I just thought, just close your mouth. Like,
Just
let your
close
mouth
your
do its job, and let your mouth do its job. Because it's a very large organ, this area, and it's far too much oxygen to take in one go. And even if you just have an open mouth one yawn, it will upset like the balance for about an hour in your body. I mean, I read into this on a very, very deep level. Like I read into everything.
Really?
Yeah, I'll spend hours learning about it until I know.
If you yawn, it messes up your balance.
Yeah, so
Sometimes I yawn quite a lot.
So you can, I mean, provided that you buy into the concepts for yourself and not take it from me, you'll start learning to yawn with your mouth closed.
Okay.
And
Is it possible?
yeah,
I'm just thinking.
yeah.
Is
it's
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then just for an experiment, maybe after 7 days, I didn't know what changes were going to happen with me, but I believe it was the precursor to all of this that's happening to me now. I really do believe that because I became really laser sharp. More oxygen was going to my brain, and I started becoming more a laser with my thoughts
Right.
and working things out. And I just believe that it's fed into this development. I really, really believe that strongly. It was just going on in the background in around July, whenever I wrote to you, August, July. And now, although, I'm having a strange teenage day, I am hugely ahead.
Yeah,
I know I am. I mean, I mustn't lose sight of that.
Yeah.
And I just put the tape on at night. Because
That's all you do.
Yeah.
That's all you do.
And then it
You
encourages one to clear the sinuses
don't- Right.
and use the nose to breathe. This is what you're supposed to use to breathe. And then also at night we can have a tendency to just for our mouth to drop open in our sleep. And then you're having vast hours, 6-7 hours of open mouth breathing, which dries out your mouth. The whole mouth isn't designed for it. They dug up archaeological remains and they saw that human beings never breathed through their mouth until about the 1800s and the beginning of industrialization.
Really?
And when sugar was transported to countries where it hadn't previously been there, tooth decay began, but also that is when people had sinus problems and health problems started coming in. So mouth breathing, according to the teachers of this system, which came from a Russian scientist who had been hired by the Russian government to work on air pressures in cabins, in airplanes and submarines. So he was an expert.
Yeah.
And as part of his research, he decided to he wanted to sit and watch people dying. And what he noticed with them was that when babies are born, their mouths are closed and they breathe through their nose and they have this quiet, shallow, easy breath, as opposed to him watching. He spent 6 weeks watching people dying.
Yeah,
and
and
their
the
mouths
head
were
of it.
fallen open.
And the geriatric words as well.
And the
most of them.
geriatric and the heavy rattling of the breathing, and he just kind of pieced them together. And his name was Buteyko, and the Buteyko method was born out of his observations. And then he moved off working for the government, and he went into this health field. And there's been a few people that have been trained directly by him, and there are some quite. There are teachers that are quite directly taught by him. So I just tried it, like you were saying this morning, this afternoon. Just try it, and for me, it had phenomenal results.
What my concern is with this, is obviously it goes against everything, or the yoga teachers have been teaching, it goes against it.
It does. And
so that concerns me because I don't understand the balance between
Buteyko doesn't believe in any form of breathing except for following the natural breath. Anything other than that. I mean, they have some exercises to help people, but let's just put that to one side. They don't believe in anything except following the breath. So when they say, take a deep breath, arms out, inhale, nah, that's going to cause more problems than it's going to. If Buteyko's right, then the whole of the yoga movement is wrong.
That's right. That's what it really kind of. When I listened to him, to this guy, I thought, well, if he is exactly right, it's a bit concerning that the whole yoga movement, the whole, going back to pranayama, and that the whole thing is wrong. The whole system going back.
I think he said that some of the breathing methods of the yogis.
Some of it
is correct, but they don't believe in the mouth breathing. I think they believe in slow nostril breathing, but it's all about not inhaling through the mouth. And it's a bit like with Ratu. Sometimes the best way is just to try it for yourself. And if you're a really
I'm more conscious actually.
If you're a real original thinker, which is like what I'm trying to be, I'm not going to be brainwashed by anyone. I'm going to get into that space where just because it's in a book, I'm not going to believe it. The only way was to try it for me, a bit like you with the shaking. And so regardless of the arguments, I just tried it. And it's absolutely fantastic.
Really? So the only thing you do actually, you just take in your mouth. That's all you do.
And the other thing is like to go around your day.
I'm more conscious of that, during the day, just breathing through my nose.
Keeping your mouth closed, so all the gossipers at work, the more they're going, the more they're taking in
Yes, I
oxygen.
understand that.
So
Yeah.
it's taping the mouth, it's being conscious of keeping your mouth closed all day long. And you know, you get a real stillness from that, because you just notice all these other people's mouths moving and you're just breathing through your nose. And do you know what it does?
I'm more conscious of that now during the day, actually,
It's-
but
it's-
I'm not.
It has a sedating effect. And
Really?
it has a calming and it has like a maturing effect. Yeah, and you think more carefully before you open your mouth. And then what else is there that you can do? Those are the two. And then if you can yawn with your mouth closed.
Oh, that's an
Yeah.
interesting one.
Yeah, I've learned how to do it. It doesn't take very long.
Really?
Yeah. But you know, the shaking might be something you found. Maybe I found something that works for me.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if it's going to work for anyone else.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
But
Oh, it's great. It sounds great. Oh, wow.
I love it because it's just it's. I don't know. I don't have words for why I love it. It's like
Yeah.
the majority of people are not. It's been missed.
I think there's also
Yeah.
another element. just out of interest, there's another element to it all. There's you know, as I sort of see the world, you know, there's the karma of being human. There's the karma of being human, and there's certain things, and all the karma of being human is certain belief systems which make up the human individual, which come into manifestation, expression, and each individual, you have like the masculine archetype, the feminine archetype, then you have the organs and the tissues, which are also beliefs as well. And then working with the belief systems within the collective and how they're supposed to works.
Yeah.
That is what the Course would term a magical solution. But they work. Magical solutions work, and they're very effective. But also, there's another field. I mean, magical beliefs, which definitely work and operate on the way that the whole collective is structured with the belief systems. I don't know if this is making sense, but anyway, they do work. So if you interfere with them, with breathing patterns or whatever, then they will actually have the effect, because they're tying in with the basic way the belief systems of this world operate. Another thing which skews the general thing is spiritual intention. Spiritual intention also, like even if you're at 200 or below, things which are just part of the mechanical belief systems of the world will operate equally well for everyone. Because, you know, like, what would be an example? You break your leg and you put a splint on. It doesn't really matter what consciousness level you're at.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a thing. It's a belief system of the karmic makeup of this world. But you know, when things are done with spiritual intent, it's like you can do the most dumb things with spiritual intention and they work, because they're imbued with spiritual power. You see, so like the Buddhists, they sort of wave a little rattle down, right? Don't they? They wave this little rattle around. But actually, their energy field while they're doing it is unconditional love. You know, because it's done with supplication to divinity. Or even someone just kneeling on their knees and praying to God. I mean, it doesn't have any scientific basis, but it's done with spiritual intent. So there's great power in that when it's not done with spiritual intent.
So you're saying really, if you do, you know, the breathing with spiritual intent, because God, sorry, I'm not quite
Yeah,
getting
well,
the gist
Just
of
what
it.
you're saying is that one person might take their mouth and it might not work. Another
The way you're
person,
saying.
if they come to it with, I mean, I think people like yourselves and myself, we bring spiritual intention to every single thing
Yeah,
we do.
Yes.
yes,
But,
exactly.
so, and I think maybe I've had such good results because,
Yeah.
you know, I feel led by everything. You know, I'll only do something if I feel led, like the way exactly how
Yeah,
you described
yeah.
falling upon Ratu.
Yeah.
That's how I fell upon this.
Yeah.
I just felt guided by it, and I followed that
Mm.
rather
Yeah.
than just let's just try out something.
Yeah.
And I think you're saying that spiritual intention will direct the success of something.
Well, that's a different. That's also a slightly different matter. If you have absolute belief in something, it will work.
Yeah.
But also, spiritual intent is different to belief.
Mm.
You know, because it's a little bit like the difference between in hypnosis, you can just program anyone, even if they had a low level of consciousness, and you could tell them to have a phobia of spiders, and they would have a phobia of spiders immediately.
Mm.
You know, you just put the thought in them with absolute belief,
Mm.
and then they have it. You see, but spiritual intent is something whereby you access spiritual power and miracles, and the divine field of infinite potentiality, and you could be doing the most daft thing,
like
Yeah.
making soup.
like making soup,
Yeah.
or just like even bending your knees. If an alien saw you bending your knees on the bed, or just what's that got to do with anything? But it can call upon huge, immense miracles in spiritual power. So it's not the thing you do, but it's the spiritual. It's connecting to the spiritual field.
Mm. But there is also some certain laws really of energy and gravity and all that.
Well, in the cities, are those laws applicable?
Yeah.
They're not.
No.
They can be defied.
They don't exist. They don't exist. Everyone else who's not at the highest levels of consciousness obeys them.
I mean, like Hawkins had his thumb cut off and it didn't bleed.
Yeah.
So that defied the laws of
Yeah,
anatomy.
I mean,
didn't it?
things like levitating,
Mm.
things like being in two places at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're the cities. So you've transcended
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
most of us operate. You're now out of the field of infinite potentiality,
Mm.
and the rest of the mere people who are just in belief systems have to obey everything else. Like you cut yourself, you bleed,
Yeah,
and you cannot levitate on air. You cannot be in two
Yeah.
locations at the same time.
yeah.
So are you saying actually, for example, qigong kind of exercises, for example, energy stuff? Would you say that this is a belief system,
Yes.
or would you say in the duality is not just a belief system?
No, I think
Yes, in non-duality is possibly a belief system
as I see it,
because there it doesn't exist, but in duality.
well, my understanding of qigong is it's a belief system. It's like yoga, or it's like tai
Is it
chi or
actually a belief
acupuncture.
system? Because it's energy, really. It's kind of energy that operates in this
Well, it's the same.
physical world.
Well, it's the same thing as. I mean, it's just accessing. It's accessing energy fields, but it's not for me It's not at the highest level. It's not transcending the world.
No,
it's more
I'm
tuning
talking
into-
about this in duality.
Yeah,
In non-duality, obviously, yes, it is. It doesn't exist.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not at the highest level because you're accessing chi energy.
Yes.
But chi energy is not the highest level of spiritual energy. Just because you're calling on the chi energy, and Western medicine is not aware of chi energy, the more subtle energy around the body.
Right.
But still, I mean, that it's not really spirituality.
No, but would you say, well, it is to an extent spirituality because you're accessing higher kind of energy. You're accessing chi energy is energy. It can be divine energy.
I wouldn't really classify it as divine energy. Like an acupuncturist
No.
is tapping into, they're just skilled at how to tap into the chi, the next layer up around the body.
Yeah,
So
let's say what
it's-
Mr. Suzuki does, for example, or any kind of a
Well, he'd be a great
bioenergy
example.
healer.
He's-
Bioenergy healer, you're
Yeah.
accessing some kind of different energy that does
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, as we both know, some of them are not.
Yeah, okay, I mentioned the name, is that okay?
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah. Well, I'll put this slightly up.
Yeah, with a name. I'm not sure.
Qigong is the subject of what you're asking, isn't it? Or just energy in general?
Just
Energy of
anything.
Qigong.
Any Qigong or
I
any
mean,
kind of
I mean, for me,
energy, any
qigong.
kind-
Yeah, I mean,
Qigong, Qi, any kind of energy, those kind of energies. What
yeah. Like I would say, even though acupuncture is slightly different.
Yeah.
I mean, in
Yeah.
terms of, but they are aware of what the energy channels are and how to tap into the
Yeah.
energy channels and to unblock and redirect them.
Yeah.
And even though medical science has no way of measuring that,
Mm.
but in order is an acupuncturist an evolved spiritual being? Not necessarily.
No, no.
And someone who learns how to tap into the next vibrational energy field up and channel it into the body for me, they don't necessarily have to be that evolved.
No, I think I agree with that. That's not,
It can be energy work with or without spiritual
Yeah.
intention,
Yeah.
or without spirituality.
Well, you know, when I say spirituality, it means coming from an evolved place.
Yeah.
I think we're
Yeah.
getting mixed up in how I'm
Yeah.
just sort of
No, I
classifying
understand that.
what's
And you're saying that
spiritual.
Qigong could be conducted without energy coming from a high spiritual place. It could just be
I
conducted.
wouldn't call it. I mean, one can tap into chi energy in
Yeah.
this realm. I mean, it's available if you know how
Yeah.
to tap into it.
yeah.
You don't have to be like a super.
No.
You don't have to be an enlightened teacher just to be able to tap into. And chi energy is, you know, with the belief systems that create this world, is useful.
Mm.
You know, if someone gives you a Reiki session or
Yeah.
you meet a chi energy healer,
Mm.
it feels really good.
I find it very strange, very kind of, you know, because I remember years ago I went to this energy, you know, workshop. A friend of mine was going in, literally, you know, they have the ability to knock you down, really, just
Yeah.
by, you know, working on the energy.
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
so you would say that this is a belief, really, system.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
came across this reading that said, be careful
Mhm.
be careful about hands-on healing of any nature, because, you know, what about the integrity of that person? And, you know, have people done the work? I mean, look how much work we've done, and
Mm.
is it enough
Mm.
to heal someone else? So be careful what energy from another human being that you. Because I used to like going to that place in South Kensington,
Oh, yeah.
the College of
Yeah,
Psychic
yeah,
Studies.
yeah.
I went there one or twice, and I don't go there anymore because I don't really necessarily automatically trust someone's energy, and I don't know if I want them to put their hands on me.
Mm. Mm.
They're strangers. I don't know the history,
Mm.
etc. It's like with you, I have 100% faith and trust, but I don't really have that automatically with someone just because they've got a Reiki card. And
No,
I'm kind of a bit
no.
more-
I don't think
No,
Reiki.
yeah.
Reiki is one of those things which you don't have to be.
No.
You know, I'm going to charge you £700 for a Reiki.
No.
I'm going to make you a master for £700.
And a master in a weekend. In a weekend, that's, you know.
I'll do it in a
some
weekend
of
for
them, they do
£1,000.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why.
yeah.
And I think.
I had to. I spent. You know, I had.
Yeah.
God bless my Reiki teacher. It was in my early days. You know, he's like, you know, the next one is the master attunement. You need the master attunement. You know. Yeah. Okay. I think the master attunement was it 400 or 500. And then it was like a secret thing. There's the Buddha attunement. You know, so you got into a room with her, and she gave you the Buddha attunement, which is even more expensive. I went through all these attunements because I wanted to get.
It will
Yeah.
cost you.
Yeah, it was even. I know it's hilarious, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's hilarious. And
It's hilarious.
but you know, I was trying to get rid of my kidney failure. You know, so I was hoping these attunements
Anything, yeah.
But I think
would
there
do
can
it.
be exploitation.
Yeah.
When I think about when I had Reiki, I was so vulnerable. I would have paid anything to anyone.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Not
also,
being in
when I look at
situation
like
like
the counsellors I've had in my life, in fairness, without wanting to be disrespecting their memory, but they weren't always in good shape themselves physically.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Now, if you're not in good shape physically yourself, that's what I'm saying. Like, people call
Yeah.
themselves healers, but do I want to invite their energy in? And how clean are they?
Mm.
well, yes, that's true. I just have to say, because I'm on camera, there definitely are nice Reiki people out there,
And nice
Yeah.
counsellors.
and with integrity.
Nice counselors.
Because there are some. who
Oh,
are
absolutely.
integrity.
I mean.
I'm not trying to say stay away from them, and I trained in it. And you can,
And I just think that when we're ill and when we're low and
Yes.
when we're vulnerable,
Yeah.
what I've noticed with myself is that
Yeah.
I'm prone to exploitation.
Mm.
That's why some of these things maybe do so well.
yeah, you want to stay
Yeah.
to
But you're
places you
desperate.
can trust.
Mm.
Once you find
Yeah,
a few
brilliant.
places you can trust, or some groups you can go to where you
Yeah.
trust the energy field.
Then you're pretty safe from it. But like back in the day when I had Reiki, I had nowhere to go.
Yeah, when you're in the exploration phase, I had
Yeah.
quite a few bad experiences, like exploring in my exploration phase. I think that's normal. Until you find the places where you know there's absolute trust. You know, or the teachings are 100% pure. then you know, you're going to be okay. So, yeah. The other thing is if you're getting illnesses, cancel your belief in all your illnesses. If you're getting all kinds of things, or ligaments or joints or whatever, just cancel the beliefs. Cancel the beliefs in vigilance around work. Cancel your fears.
In the need for vigilance, do you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, or if you're cancel your belief in any need for fear at work.
Yeah.
God is the strength in which you trust. What does that mean for me? Energetically, it means when you're in the field of trust, you will be taken care of.
Yeah.
When you trust, when you have the vibration of trust, all will be well.
I don't believe how many times am I going to need reminding of that. It's just funny, isn't it? Just keep falling and keep slipping and keep relapsing.
No, it's
keep
not.
Backsliding.
It's not. You're a teenager now. You're making progress, but you have to integrate.
Yeah.
You want to integrate the best of the old you,
Yeah.
but you also want to transcend anger as well, and go into spiritual discernment, and also, you could say, I don't know how to call it, authentic assertiveness. You know, it's dealing with, you know, you have to, when you're speaking to a wolf, you have to use the right languaging. That's also spiritually correct, right thing to do. You know, like like showing you're a lamb to a wolf is not the loving thing for either of you.
Yeah.
So you have to it's almost like if you're with a baby, you have to speak baby language, and if you're with a wolf, you have to know how to speak to a wolf. Yeah.
Can't believe how long.
Yeah, you
some
know.
life lessons. That's what Eamon was saying with the Irish saying. Like, can't believe how long it can take to get a lesson. You know, and it's funny with your shaking because you've come to a recent, massive deep revelation, and in a way what's happened with me feels really similar because there's trapped energy, the trauma of the cells of being nothing and being like, I had enough, something happened to me and I can't take it anymore. You know, that was revealed to me.
That's great.
And I think it's so similar to what's happened to you.
So that's great.
It's like the core, it's like we've got to the core of the person, of the virus. I've got to the core of the virus. I think Muji calls it, I don't remember, he has a word for it. No, I can't remember. It can be karmically that you've carried for many lives, like a stain.
Yeah.
This thing that I'm, this self-worth problem, I've carried, it's been the one block in my entire life. I've had to carry it around every day, you know, and I get a sense like with you, that you got to the history, you know, to where it all went wrong, you know, and then once you've got that virus in you, it infects every relationship, it infects every attempt to make it in the world, it infects everything. You bring that poison to everything and that filter, and I think I'm exhausted because I think I've just broken free of it. You know, I thought last year with Muji I'd dropped the world and I was free, but there's another, you know.
Yeah, no, it's healthy to go through the teenage phase. It's very healthy to master it. And you know, the healthiest phase is without viruses, any viruses. There is that place where there's infinite freedom, limitless freedom.
But I think now I can maybe get there, but previously that virus was running in my CPU, in my unconscious.
That's true.
You know, like Len would say, it was running everything. I'm convinced of it. Every second of every day, I had this lack of self-worth.
Yeah, you're burping it out now. It's come out to consciousness. You're burping it out.
Yeah. And although I'm very low in energy because it's been like, I don't know, I probably shouldn't even use this word. No, it's a horrible word because it puts me in the wrong realm. But like exorcism, I don't really like to get into that.
You're purging.
Let's call it purging. I feel a bit safer with that.
Purging.
And now there's like
you're vomiting it out.
Yeah, there's an exhaustion that comes from that. Maybe like say if you've had a vomiting session, you get exhausted. But I'm hoping to rejuvenate.
It's natural.
I hear you.
Yeah. It's exhausting, but it's you want to get through the burping phase, and because it is being in sustained anger is depleting. but you're being orchestrated by the field. She's in the field of anger.
Mm.
She's just expressing.
Yeah.
She just can't help. It's just coming through her. So
But
she's
all
just
the message is, in the field of anger, is I'm here. Because from my day of my birth, I was told, you're not here.
Mm.
So clinically, I didn't build an identity. I've really looked into this. I didn't build an identity. I didn't get that mirrored, if you want to believe in psychoanalysis. But when the parent looks at the baby and mirrors to the baby's face, the baby gets to learn who they are, and they slowly, gradually find information out about themselves before they are old enough to conceptualise it, and then they develop an identity.
Yeah.
For like half of my parents, I didn't get that. So I didn't exist. So when you say I'm in anger now, I'm just basically saying I exist.
No, I totally get where you're coming from. I mean, my issue is not that, but I've got similar issues, so I know what you're talking about. And I know...
But that is your issue that fundamental? Because that is a very fundamental... That issue